Hello and welcome to Unacademy. I welcome you all to this session in which we'll be covering a very interesting timeline for art and culture through current affairs. So, I welcome you all to this session. And the idea is very simple. Good evening to all of you, which is that from December, uh, and yes, from December last year, December 2024 till August 2025, the idea is to have two of such sessions in the whole, you can say, academic year. And this is the first session in which we will cover the static portion, meaning I'll keep on explaining to you the static, but through current affairs from December to August. The next time when we meet, we'll do it from September till the point till which we do it. Most probably, we'll do it in February, so that again we have 6 months. So I hope that you like this format. And basically, the idea is we'll be covering at least 50 topics of art and culture current affairs. The volume of art and culture current affairs is always lower than any other subject, but it is quite valuable because the hit rate is higher. So, with this, let's talk about the two very interesting, you can say, offers running right now, which is for 2026 aspirants, 6 plus 6 months, which is if you buy 6 months, you get 6 months, 12 plus 12, and 18 plus 18 is running right now. And this offer will end on 27th. And do remember this that you have to use the code IAS English to be tagged to our team. And this offer is at 19,999. So use this opportunity to join the Unacademy family. Now, before I give you a snapshot of the topics themselves, the idea, as I told you, is very simple: static, true current affairs, and over and above that, this repository is going to help you in digesting these facts better. Meaning, what I will do is I will keep on explaining you the current affairs aspect, the static aspect. But if I do 100 together, it will be problematic. So we're doing it in a certain sense where you can manage it in that regard. Now, we will start with one of the latest. I am not including September. I am telling you it is till 31st of August that I'm covering from 1st December 2024 till 31st August 2025. This is the time period which we are covering. So any news if you think is not there is most probably because it is one of the latest in the past 20 days. I have not taken that into consideration. Right? So we'll start with Sarnath, and the August news is first, and we will go in that chronology, which is August, thereafter July, then June. And by the time we end this session, we are going to most probably reach till December. One more thing, I plan to give you a breather, 15 minutes, somewhere around 8:45 ish, so that it does not become too much. So plan accordingly. We will go on 1.5 hours, then we'll take a small break, and then again we'll go on for 1.5 hours. So close to 3.5 hours will be done by 10:30, 11. That is the idea here, right? If everybody is ready, I want a yes from everyone. It has to be a two-way interaction. It cannot be a one-way interaction. Are we all ready? How many topics are we covering? We're covering close to 50. If I go into the static portion, then that automatically increases to 60, 65. Because for every current, there is some form of, you can say, static portion also, which we have to cover. Right. So I have the chats in front of me. And yes, we can start our discussion now. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So this first is the glossary, meaning what are we going to cover? I'll come back to this once we have covered all the topics. But just to give you a basic understanding, we'll cover GI, we'll cover UNESCO, we'll cover Dravida architecture, we'll cover UNESCO, both tangible heritage, tangible, intangible. We'll discuss the concept of Creative Cities Network. GI will be very important for you as a half yearly update in that regard. And we'll also discuss personalities and certain events and controversies, including Kilidi and Shivagalai. So, let's start our discussion with the most recent news related to our, you can say, current affairs, also our static art and culture portion. And from then, let's move backward. So, Sarnath was recently nominated for this round 2025-26 as India's nomination for UNESCO World Heritage. Now, to understand this concept, you first have to understand what is this concept of nomination and what is the difference between representative list, tentative list. Once you understand that, that will help me in another topic later, which is Maratha military landscape and 6 different sites which have been recently nominated. Now, let's try to break that down. Now, if I'm a country who wants to nominate or put one of the sites which I believe is very important into the UNESCO World Heritage List, there's a certain 3 step process. And that 3 step process has to be followed in a way that the UNESCO World Heritage Committee has a specific nomination for a year. For example, I'm a country and I want to nominate a site called A to the World Heritage Committee. So, what I will do is first, I will nominate this site as an inventory into the tentative list. Into the tentative list. Once it has gone into the tentative list, it will be considered. It will be considered as a list which the UNESCO World Heritage Committee will then consider for the representative. Now, if I'm in the tentative list, that automatically does not mean that I have been nominated. For example, Sarnath, the site, has been in the tentative list since 1998. However, it was never nominated thereafter. So this year in 2025, it has been nominated to be considered by the World Heritage Committee for the representative list. And basically, representative list means that it is in the World Heritage Committee site, which is called a World Heritage Site in that regard. Therefore, the concept is very simple. There's a 3 step process. First, be nominated into the tentative list. Second, then be nominated that year to be considered within the World Heritage Committee. And third, to then be in the representative. For Sarnath as a site, the tentative edition was in 1998. But after a very long time, it is only in 2025 that the nomination has happened for that year. And thereafter, if the World Heritage Committee this year is going to think it has merit, Sarnath is a very important site as it is, it will go into representative. Now you tell me one thing. If there is a statement in the 2026 examination, and as of right now, if based on to right now or this, you can say scenario, if there's a statement which says the Sarnath site or Sarnath is a World Heritage Site, the statement is correct or incorrect? You tell me. That statement is correct or incorrect? Sarnath is a World Heritage Site, UNESCO World Heritage Site. What is the answer to that question? Yes, very good, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. It is an incorrect statement. Meaning, if any site is in the tentative list, it is not to be considered as a representation of it in the representative list, or it cannot be called as a World Heritage Site. Only when it is moved here, it is a World Heritage Site. So, I'm again repeating myself. This is fundamental to the discussions which we'll have further. Sarnath was added to the tentative list in 1998, has been nominated for the 25-26 cycle. It is not a World Heritage Site. It will be considered by the World Heritage Committee. If added to the representative list, then it is a World Heritage Site. Do we understand this? Everyone, if we understand this point, then I can talk about why is it that it has been added? Why? Or why have we nominated it this time? Yes? Okay. Perfect. Still not considered nomination. You are telling me, Rahul, or you're asking me? The concept is first be nominated to the tentative list, then be nominated for the representative list, and then go into representative. That is the whole point. Sarnath was always a part of the concept, right? Okay, sir. Now, how many times nominate a particular place? Rajesh, see, tentative list nomination can happen only once. If UNESCO consider it, then it is fine. You can nominate it multiple years, multiple times. Meaning once in the tentative list as inventory, there is no bar on nominating it year on year. You can do it. But if you're doing it year on year and it is not getting it, then most probably it will not get it next year also. There's no, this nomination can only happen once. This can happen multiple times as per the concept of the how much times the country wants to nominate in that. So this is the basic process. I'm again repeating myself, which is country makes an inventory, then puts that inventory in the tentative list, and then this is inscribed for the next 5 to 10 years to be considered for the representative list. Sarnath's wait has been much longer in that regard. And then World Heritage Committee can only take tentative list sites into consideration. And therefore, once it's moved to the representative list, it becomes a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, why is Sarnath important? Why is Sarnath important? The reason is in the larger Buddhist history, Sarnath is the moment or the place where the Dharma Chakra Parivartana, which is the wheel of Dharma or wheel of Dhamma, turned when Buddha gave his first sermon after being enlightened. And it is actually named after multiple, you can say, Jatak based animals which are associated with Buddha. But the word Sarnatha comes from the Sagarnatha, which is the lord of the deer, deer being a very important animal representing Buddha himself. But there are also certain monuments which are associated with Sarnath, which make it important. Now, this is the list. Let's discuss each one of them. Why are they important? This is called the Dhammek Stupa. This is at Sarnath. It is believed that this was constructed as it is still in the tentative list. It has been nominated to the representative list. It has still not, Rahul, don't confuse yourself and others also at the same point of time. Sarnath is still in the tentative list, has been nominated for this cycle. We will see if it gets into the representative list or it is not a World Heritage Site in any way or form until unless it is given that tag by the World Heritage Committee. It is just an inventory which has been nominated. That's it. So Dhammek Stupa at Sarnath is considered to be important because it represents the moment of what is called as the Dharma Chakra Parivartana or the first sermon itself. But why in the larger constellation of stupas it is considered important is because of its, you can say, peculiar design. Peculiar design means that unlike stupas, which should basically have a medhi, a anda, a harmika, a yashti and chhatra, along with a torana, which is entry gate, the concept of a base, then the what we call as anda, the hemispherical dome, which is not hollow but a solid, then the box type structure which is called harmika, the yashti and the chhatra, along with the vedika and suchi in that regard, and the Pardakshin Path which is there. It does not actually represent the same pattern because it is at a cylindrical. It has a cylindrical, you can say, as you can see here, it has a cylindrical design, which is unlike any other stupa. It is one of the exceptional stupas, as it is called, because it does not follow the same pattern in that way. So, in itself, when we discuss stupas in class, which we will do from 1st October, from 1st October onwards, my ancient medieval art and culture batch will start on the platform at 6 a.m. in the morning. We will be discussing how this is in itself, along with Amravati, along with the Bharuch Stupa, a pattern changing stupa. That is why it is generally important for the examination. So this is at Sarnath. The second thing which is related to the Sarnath is called the Dharma Rajika Stupas. This is a whole concept which is called the Dharma Rajika Stupas, a whole set of stupas which don't survive when Nalanda was destroyed by Bakhtiyar Khilji in the same sweep of what is called the Ghaznavid invasion in this sector. This whole structure was destroyed. But again, Dharmarajika Stupa, constructed in the Mauryan period, an important structure related to it is believed that it had the original relic inside it, which we cannot find today because of its destruction. So again, two very important Buddhist, you can say history-based important moments are captured in Sarnath. But what we remember Sarnath for is this: the the Sarnath and the Sarnath capital figure. This is also the emblem of our nation. But there is a very important concept which you should know. There are three parts to this. The Sarnath capital. This is called the lower abacus. One. This is called the upper abacus. Two. This is called the capital figure. Three components are there in a capital. Together, this whole thing is called a capital. This is called lower abacus or inverted lotus bell. This is called upper abacus, which is either a square or a rectangle or a circle, much like this, a base on which you have the four lion concept, which is there. This was also in the news because of the controversy over the emblem which was installed in the new parliament. But our emblem is not all three components. What two components are actually considered to be the part of the emblem, national emblem? One, two, three, one, two, two, three. Which is the one? You have to tell me this. Out of one, two, three, which two components together make the emblem of? Very good, very good, very good. See, this is not considered as part of the emblem. Only when you are going to become an IPS officer, when you will become an IS officer, the IPS officer wears the Ashoka, this the Sarnath Gupta, you can say, figure on his shoulder or her shoulder, and it is only going to be 2 and 3. The lower abacus is not a part. This comes in PCS level examination. UPSC is asked a statement based question also about this. The lower abacus is not considered to be part of the emblem. The insignia only has 2 and 3. Perfect. So we now have three very, very important, you can say, historical moments captured in Sarnath. So it deserves to be in the tentative list as it is. It should be in the representative list. But Ashokan pillar, Dharmarajika, Dhamek, and ancient monasteries is something which we already know. But Sarnath also has a very interesting history related to the Mughals also, which is called the Chaukhandi Stupa. Chaukhandi Stupa was actually installed by Todarmal's son, Govardhan, to commemorate the visit of Humayun when he had visited this place at when he was returning from the Battle of Chausa. This Chaukhandi Stupa on the, you can say, destroyed Anda, a Chaukhandi octagonal tower was added. And this was made by Govardhan, the son of Todarmal. It is obviously not the contemporary of Humayun because Chausa is 1539. But this will be constructed much later to commemorate the visit of Akbar's father to this site. So Chaukhandi Stupa now becomes very interesting, 1588. You should know this because people tend to miss this fact that there is something where Sarnath just does not represent the 6th century BCE, but from the 6th century BCE till the Mughal period, till 1588, there are certain moments which are captured at Sarnath. So looking at the larger scheme of things, Sarnath that ways has a lot to offer. Let us see. Most probably it will be added. One of the reasons to do this is because the the soft power which India is using with Buddhism, Sarnath allows us to then further say that see one more Buddhist site has become a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it is the larger concept of soft power, international relations, geopolitics where we're trying to do because it has been there in from 1998. Why now? So I hope that Sarnath, its monuments and its understandings are clear. Everybody has to say a yes, then we move ahead. You all have to be with me and you have to tell me yes, 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 sir, no, sir. Come on. Yes, sir. Proactively. Okay. Now, a small topic, but because it's a first, Jharkhand, a state known for its mining, is now using mining for tourism? This is a very straightforward question in a state PCS examination. And in UPSC, it can again come as a freebie. Which state uses tourism? Because then you can basically mix it up with Odisha or Karnataka or any in the iron belt in that regard to argue that no, no, it is not just Jharkhand. So Jharkhand has become the first state in India to use what is called as mining tourism. They want to portray two circles in within Jharkhand: the culture, the tribal culture, the culture based on mining labor, and how mining is done. So it is both mining practices and local history which is being pushed through this concept. So the idea is very simple, that the CCL along with the state government are now trying to monetize something which is already quite critical to Jharkhand and create a certain buzz around it. Interesting, and it will try to push four concepts together, which is alternative tourism. This is very important for you. Second, as this you can use as a ethics example also, meaning how do you revive your district? If your district has a certain, you can say, speciality, it can be used for alternative tourism. If mining can be made into a tourist attraction, anything can be. And therefore, it's about exposure, it's about local culture, it's about employment opportunity and boost the economy. Will help the culture also get highlighted and may allow for the intangible heritage of this area to maybe recognized also. So it may get recognized in the larger scheme of things. So I hope that you understand this is a very straightforward question, but for the examination context, in that pressure situation, it will be very easy to mess up this two marker. Very easy. But for us, it gives you an understanding of how you can help a certain district, a state in using its peculiarity for tourism also. If we can have these concepts institutionalized, we already have certain schemes which are working for district and what they offer. This is unique in that way. Simple, straightforward topic, nothing out of the box. Right? Okay. Thereafter, the third topic which we cover, and quite important that is a personality. The elder brother of a already very well known personality, the Iron Man of India, Vallabhbhai Patel, Vithalbhai Patel. Now, he appears in our history multiple times, but because most of the history revolves around, is written around Vallabhbhai Patel, I have one very, very important, you can say, disclaimer. In the examination, our mind can mix up Vittal Bhai Patel, sometimes written with double T also, double L also, and sometimes can mix up Vallabhbhai Patel. Because he was in the news, now pay attention. I will tell you in what context does he appear in the standard history so that you can match it, because he is known to be the first speaker, first Indian speaker of the Central Legislative Council. If you can use the word speaker, because he was a president, that is considered to be the precursor of the concept of speaker itself. But there are other instances also where you find the mention of Vittal Bhai Patel. Can you tell me where is the first instance in any standard book you will find the mention of Vittal Bhai Patel? Swarajist, yes, you will find he is a Swarajist, that everybody knows. But you will find his mention before that also. He's a Swarajist vis-a-vis the no changers, not 1792. His mention comes with his brother only, but it is much before the Swarajist 1923-25 period. It will come in, no, not bought by Peter. You are mixing up. Bardoli Satyagraha is Vallabhbhai Patel, not where he gets the Sardar. Vittal Bhai Patel is not related to directly to the Bardoli Satyagraha, not Bardoli. This is where you all know it. I'm checking that. You already know it. Where is the first in any book, be it Spectrum, be it Course, anywhere? You will find his mention and his name, but you mostly overlook it, and that is what you're doing right now. So I'm giving you enough time. Come on, tell me. Not a very out of the box question. It is a moment which you already know. It is a very well known Gandhian moment also. Yes, Jeda. Gandhi, Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad. In Kheda, the remission campaign, the campaign against the British for not giving remission because of the failure of the crops, it is Vittal Bhai Patel and Vallabh Bhai Patel. They both got associated with the national movement and Gandhi here only. They become Gandhian leaders from here. If you knew this, you should be able to very quickly tell me. So the first instance is 1917. Rather, not even 1917, it would be 18 because 17, 18. 18. Thereafter, we all know that he's a Swarajist. So the second mention or the most known for Vittal Bhai Patel is that he will be with C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru to argue that the non-cooperation movement campaign for boycotting the council should be dropped because we should open this as a new arena to block the, you can say, the workings of the what is called as Government of India Act 1919 or Montagu-Chelmsford reform. Therein, he was one of the founding members of the Swaraj Party, and that is where his association with the Central Legislative Assembly will come through, where he will become the president. I'll come to that. Thereafter, he will also be a very important part of what is called as the Congress Working Committee and was very instrumental, yes, in the Ramgarh session. Before that, also in after 1930 till 4042, he will be considered a very important member along with JB Kriplani and all as members of the Congress Working Committee of the AICC. So I'm refreshing your memory. He's very important. He's very important, but you tend to only read Vallabh Bhai Patel, not Vittal Bhai Patel. I'll also show you his picture so that you can associate him with who he is because we tend to not know how Vittal Bhai Patel looks like. So he recently the Delhi Legislative Assembly hosted a 2-day All India Speakers Conference where his mention came through because he's considered the first president of the Central Legislative Assembly and he is the elder brother of Vallabhbhai Patel. That is something which you can remember separately, but there are other things also which you should know. So he studied law, came back to Bombay. Bombay Legislative Council, he got associated in 1912 and Imperial Legislative Council in 1918, meaning he will be elected 2 times, first to the Provincial Legislative Council of Bombay and thereafter the Imperial Legislative Council of 1918. Thereafter, in 1924, he will be elected member of the Central Legislative Assembly from Bombay City. Now, can anybody tell me why is the Imperial Legislative Council and Central Legislative Assembly the same thing or different? Are they both the same? I'm discussing static modern India with you. Are both the same or are they different? Central Legislative Council and the concept of Imperial Legislative Council. Same, different? Two answers. Different. Neha Reddy. Dr. Lakshmi says same. No one else. Different. Not the Charter of 1919, Government of India Act 19. See, Dr. Lakshmi is correct. Both are the same thing. Just the nomenclature changes from Government of India Act 1919 onwards. Why? Because 1919 adds the Council of State. So therefore, Imperial Legislative Council becomes Central Legislative Assembly along with the Council of State. They're the same thing, just that the nomenclature changes because of that is why 1918, 1924. Before 1919, it was called Imperial Legislative Council because there was only one house. Bicameralism will change the name is there. Central Legislative Assembly, Council of State. Again, a very well-known fact. A lot of you would say, sir, we already know the provisions of 1919. But when I asked you a very simple question, which UPSC can ask, that the Imperial Legislative Council and the Central Legislative Assembly are two different bodies, most of you would say it is correct as per what you've written here. They are not the same. They are not different. They're the same body, name changes. Name changes because of the 1919 Act. I hope you are noting this point because Bombay Legislative Council, Imperial Legislative Council, Central Legislative Assembly. He basically has two stints in the same body with two different names. And when he will become the member of the Central Legislative Assembly, this time in 1924, during the period of the Swarajist and no changes, he will be elected as the first Indian president to the Central Legislative Assembly. Thereafter, he will hold this position for two tenures and then resign in 1930 to work with the Congress Working Committee. Substituted by two houses, namely, yes, that is the whole point. So please do understand this point. He was not called a speaker. He was called the president of the Central Legislative Assembly, considered to be the precursor to the concept of speaker. Now, I will again ask you a very important point. If the statement says Vittal Bhai Patel was the first president of the Central Legislative Assembly, he was the first president of the Central Legislative Assembly. That statement is correct or incorrect? First president. Yes, it is not correct. He is the first Indian president. Same mistake we do with Annie Besant and Sarojini Naidu. First Indian to be the president, because first president would have been some other Britisher who would have been part of this Imperial Legislative Council and then the Central Legislative Council Assembly. He is the first Indian president. This is a very simple point. Within Vittal Bhai Patel, most of you have got either LBW or clean bold or have considered as a bouncer. Very simple concept. Very simple concept. If it says Indian president, then it is correct. If it says president, it is incorrect. That is why reading this statement very closely is very important in the examination. Once he will become the president, he is known to have done two things, which is he created what is called as a speaker secretariat, presidential secretariat, which used to be only in a way answerable to him. That is where Governor General was also not in a way involved in his own secretariat in his own office. So these are considered to be the ways in which he created this Swarajist front within the Central Legislative Assembly also. That was quite an important personality. We don't talk about him enough. He appears as footnotes in multiple cases, but he should be taken as a very, very important personality, taken seriously. And now you should always be conscious about him because he's been in the news. So, are we clear about these small nitty gritties so that we can move to the next topic? Very important static portion is behind this concept itself. This is how UPSC makes questions. It will ask you a question on the Imperial Legislative Council. Then you will say, why did they ask that? They asked it because of this context in that. Right? Okay. Now, on 9th August 1925 and on 9th August 2025, 100 years of the Kakori train action, previously called the Kakori robbery, was commemorated. And that is where the Prime Minister paid tribute to all the revolutionaries who are related to the 100 years of Kakori. Now, you need to know 3-4 things now, because UPSC has already asked a question on the non-cooperation movement, and that too 2 years ahead of it. So you can get a question in 2026 also, 2027 also, because you never know with UPSC now. Now, 9th August 1925, very, very important. But before I talk about 9th August, 8th August and 7th August. Why are they important in history? 7th August and 8th August? Tell me first, why is 7th August important? Again, asking you a very simple, straightforward question. Static oriented, you should know this. If you've done modern India, these two dates are very well known, and UPSC has asked a question out of this also. 7th August, yes, very good, Sejal. It is Swadeshi resolution. Quit India movement is 8th August. Quit India. 9th August, everybody will get arrested. So now you have one more important date, 9th August, Kakori. Remember this. 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Swadeshi, Quit India, and Kakori. Not in chronological order, remember that. Because this is 1925, this is 1905, this is 1942. So not in the same chronological order. Okay. Now, the Kakori robbery or Kakori train action was done by the HRA, the Hindustan Republican Army or Association, or use these words interchangeably in that regard. And the idea was to create a Republic of India based on an armed revolution and armed rebellion against the British. And 9th August is the day on which to fund to fund the, you can say, larger revolutionary force, larger revolutionary action. They stopped the number 8 down train, as it is called, near us, near a very small town called Kakori in Uttar Pradesh, and they stole the money from the guard's cabin. It was gold and currency which was going towards Lucknow at that point of time. Objective was to then fund the armed revolution against the British government. 10 revolutionaries were associated with it. The names would be Ram Prasad Bismil, who was the, you can say, the chief personality who saw this pattern of the money moving on the 8 down train. Then we have Ashafullah Khan, Lahiri, Chandrasekhar Azad, S.N. Bakshi, Keshav Chakravarti, M. Gupta, Murari Sharma, Mukundi Lal, and Banwari Lal. Out of which you should know Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashafullah Khan, Lahiri, Chandrasekhar Azad. Chandrasekhar Azad is the only one who did not get caught and was the one who was also the founding member of the HSRA, where Bhagat Singh, Bhatukeshwar Dutt, Rajguru all will get involved, which is in 1928-29, the second coming in that regard. Now, what is interesting is the reason why they were caught is because they were not able to dispose of so much money, meaning looting the train was easy. The problem was how do you use this money without getting caught and how do you digest that much amount of, and that is why Bismil Lahiri, Roshan Singh are going to get basically martyred by hanging. Kala Pani to Sachindra Sanyal and you have Sachindra Bakshi. Others were given 3 to 14 years of imprisonment. Chandrasekhar Azad is the only one who will not get caught. The amount was only 8,000 rupees which they took. This 8,000 was something which they were not able to dispose, because 8,000 rupees was both in cash and in gold. And it was very easy to spot this money within the, you can say, landscape of North India. That is why they will get caught also. So, Kakori, that was an important moment which will also, in a way, fizz out the HRA, but will also inspire the HSRA to become what it will become, and it will be the founding, you can say, stone to the second coming of the Hindustan Socialist Republican Army, right? So before I move to Harappan site, everybody's with me, no issues whatsoever, all good? Yes, come on. Yes sir. No sir. Okay, no issues whatsoever. Now, recently there has been an excavation which has, in a way, solved a jigsaw puzzle which has been problematic for Indus Valley civilization for a very long time. This is called the Ratandia di Dehri site. Now, if you look at the location where Ratandia di Dehri is, it solves a very interesting mystery. The mystery was that if you look at the concentration of sites of the Indus Valley civilization, you will find it here. You will find IVC sites in India in this sector also. You'll find IVC sites, Indus Valley sites in this sector also. You will find it in this sector also. You'll find it in this sector also. You'll find it in this sector also. You'll find it in this sector also. But somehow there was only one site which was found in the Thar Desert. And therefore, with this site being, you can say, excavated, now the idea that the Saraswati River, which is considered to be in the same sector in that regard, the Saraswati River, this the idea that the Thar Desert was not as arid as it is today is now being confirmed, which means that there are other sites also which are buried under the sands of the Thar Desert. But this is one whole geographically contiguous zone, meaning the Indus Valley civilization, most of the people tend to curl inside, saying that the Thar Desert did not have a lot of sites. No, the sites are there, but they are buried under, and we don't know how many sites are there. The Indus River may have been very important, but the Saraswati River was equally important. So, what this Ratandya Dheri site does is now going to solve a mystery. Only Pilibanga in northern Rajasthan was a site which had been found to say that okay, there is one site there. But now the jigsaw puzzle, that whole gap of Rajasthan which is taken, is now being changed through this site. So this site has yielded a lot of different, you can say, artifacts also, which gives us an understanding that it was a mature Harappan site, which means that it was part of the larger constellation of what we know today as the concept of the Harappan civilization or the IVC. So remember, this site solves a mystery, a gap in history, that okay, I have it in Pakistan, I have it in Haryana, I have it in Gujarat, I have it in as far as in Afghanistan, but nothing in Rajasthan. That mystery has been solved, right? That Rajasthan also has multiple sites. This only means that they're underwater because of the arid nature of this. Again, nothing out of the box, but important development, can be quoted as current affairs when it comes to decline. Decline question, if it comes in the mains examination or in the prelims, you can always get a reference to this site. Can you provide me the source of these current affairs? You would have to go through TIB, then you would have to go through CCRT website, then Hindu newspaper, then Indian Express, thereafter Times of India sometimes. You also have certain, you can say, independent websites which also provide a lot of information, but most of them are from CCRT, Hindu, Indian Express, TOI. TIB is when it's a scheme based on. So you it takes a lot of time to come up with these, because art and culture current affairs is very scattered. It's extremely scattered. And it is not like that every day you will get some news. You will have to look for it. And uh, remember one thing more, in the name of art and culture, a lot of current affairs is pushed. Random. Every festival which happens in every state is mentioned sometime. So don't fall into that PCS trap. UPSC looks for meta concepts. And that is where you have to also, because if you will go by that, then every year, every day, some festival is happening for sure. And therefore, then there is no end to that list itself. If you are giving the examination of that state PCS, then that is important. But for UPSC, meta concepts are generally very, very important, which is what impacts us in the larger concept. India is the land of festivals. Something or the other is always happening. So Radhakrishna Gopalapuram, I hope that you understand that if you want to do this yourself, you can do it. But it will take a lot of time in that regard. Right. Okay. Now, there's again one interesting news coming from Rajasthan, where a well excavation yielded a fossil which was never associated with India. We still, in a way, need confirmation in that regard. And that confirmation is that is it actually the bones of the phytosaur, as it is called? The Phytosaurus is considered to be the primitive ancestor of the crocodile. And whilst in the Megha village, a certain pond was being excavated for water and for well construction, the Geological Survey of India still has to confirm this, but they have found certain fossil evidences. This would again re-establish India's position. We already have Hatanora, we already have Odai, We already have multiple Son Valley sites in that regard, which basically confirm to us that we have hominid, which is Ramapithecus, we have Homo erectus, Homo sapien sapien excavations. But this would also confirm that we have Jurassic era, 20 crore years ago. This fossil has been found. Jurassic era fossils have also been found in this sector. That way is interesting and important, but still needs to be confirmed by the government of India that it is a Phytosaurus or not. But at least it is a fossil evidence going to the Jurassic era in that. Interesting. We will talk about it again if once it gets confirmed by the GSI. Right now, we discussed Sarnath as a site which was nominated. It was in the tentative list, nominated for 25-26, and we don't know if it will be added or not. Last year, January, February, the Maratha military landscape was nominated for 24-25 cycle. And now the Maratha military landscape of India are confirmed as UNESCO World Heritage Site. They are basically in the representative list. They are in the representative list of the UNESCO World Heritage Tangible Sites. If this is very significant, this is now the latest edition. What was the edition before this? Because UPSC is asking questions based on year, 2025, 2025 we have Maratha military landscape. 2024, which was the site which was added? Anybody, if you remember? Yes, very good. The Charadev Maidans. Sam, Charadev Maidans, Ahom history, that was the edition. Before that, we had the Hoysaleshwara temple and Shantiniketan. And before that, we had the Ramappa temple. So, Ramappa temple, thereafter Hoysala plus Shantiniketan, thereafter Charadev Maidam, now Maratha military land. This is how you remember UNESCO World Heritage Sites also. You don't have to learn everything together. Remember the last 5-6 years. That is going to be enough for your understanding in that regard. So I hope that you will keep this in check. Right? Okay. Now, there are now 2 points which you should know. Latest edition point I have already made. But what do I mean by Maratha military lands? I've done this multiple times. But I'm again doing it so as to impinge on some of you who are new. So, Maratha military landscape is a word which is used for these 12 forts. 11 of them are in Maharashtra. One is in Tamil Nadu, which is Gingi. What are the requirements to get nominated into World Heritage Site? To Veksha, there are 3 types. So there are 10 provisions. Obviously, don't need to learn them. There are 3 major ways in which you can be nominated. First is it should have cultural value, human cultural value, or it captures a certain civilizational architecture, cultural heritage in that. That is one category. 3 provisions are there. Then second is it should have, that is called a cultural site. Then there's something called a natural site, which is it should either capture the geological history of India, it should capture the history of the earth, or it should be of very important natural importance. Meaning, as part of our evolution of the earth, it should capture that. Third is called a mixed site, meaning it has both, which is cultural value also, Kanchandezonga, cultural value also, and also natural value. So 3 major are concepts, but 2 major concepts are there: cultural, geological. These have been added because of their cultural value. Some sites are added for their geological value. I hope you understand this. Don't learn each and every provision of the UNESCO, you can say, list of eligibilities in that regard. It is humanity or earth in that regard. Right. Now, out of these 12 forts, as I said, this is in Tamil Nadu. Everyone, all of the others are in Maharashtra. But what is very interesting is not all are actually under the ASI. Talher, Rajgarh, Kanderi, and Pratapgarh are under the Maharashtra government, and the ASI takes care of the 8 which are not in this list of 4. But what UPSC can ask now is what is their peculiarity? Meaning, why are they so important? And this slide, if you want, you can take a screenshot of this also. It's very, very important. Meaning, not all are the same. These 12 represent different landscapes. And these landscapes will help you answer any statement based question, which is, for example, Salher, Shivneri, Lohagad, Raigad, and Rajgad, along with Gingi, are hill forts, meaning they are on hills or surround basically either on the foothill or on the top. Thereafter, Pratapgarh is a hill forest fort, meaning it is a forest landscape with a certain hill complex. It is made on the hill in that. Then Panhala is a hill plateau fort, meaning there's a certain hill that then becomes a plateau, and that is where it has been placed. Very strategic value in a landscape of the Western Ghats in that regard. Vijayadurg is a coastal fort, meaning it has been made on the beach. And what is the most important is Suvarnadurg, Sindhudurg, and Khanderi are island forts, meaning an island has been fortified into a certain fort itself. That is where you should know their histories and what is their importance. For example, Lohagad, it is a fort which was in a way linked to even the Chalukyas from the post Gupta period. It is important. It will be taken by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj in 1648 and will become a very important, you can say, fort which controls this whole terrain itself. So if you are sitting on the top, the panoramic view allows you to control this sector quite well. Thereafter, Suvarnadurg, as you can see, very beautiful. This is where the Marathas used to control the whole of the Arabian Sea in this sector at this point of time. Very important check on the British, on the Dutch, and also the Portuguese. Very important in becoming a very important power along the western coast of India in that region. That is where this was under. This will be a fort which was captured by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj from Adil Shah, and it was given to who is called the Shivaji of the Sea, Samudra Tala Shivaji, Kanoji Angre, and he used to operate from this. Yes, we have done this topic previously also, but we're doing it again. Think of it as a concept of what is called as revision. Then we have Sindhudurg. Sindhudurg fort, again, very important, was specifically constructed to control the passage of the Portuguese, Dutch, and the French in this sector. Konkan coast, these two are very, very important, Sindhudurg and the Suvarnadurg. And thereafter, Vijayadurg is basically a fort which is to supply to these three coastal, rather island based forts. This was made again on the coast itself. Very important restationing, you can say refueling, or any form of, you can say, rationing used to be done from this sector in that region. Thereafter, we have Khanderi, last out of the three, the last island fort. This is very well known. You can actually travel from the gateway of India towards Khanderi. There's an observatory here now. And this is again, all three used to become a very important strategic triangle, which used to allow the Marathas to control the sea passage or the passage of the Europeans in that regard. Till the Marathas were very important power as a naval power, they were able to check the power of the Europeans also in that regard. Thereafter, you have Panala. Panala is a plateau based fort, which is that it was under the Bahmanis. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj will take it away from him. And thereafter, this used to allow the whole sector to be controlled. Again, a high point is important for how you control the landscape in that regard. Then you have Pratapgarh. Pratapgarh is very important because it's on the Neera and the Koyna River. And if you have to control the Par Pass in the Western Ghats, you can do it through the Pratapgarh fort in that region. Very, very important. Very interesting that ways. So therefore, Pratapgarh is important to control again the landscape and the pass its power pass. Then this has been in the news again because of people losing their life and also making it a new trek. It's called the Salhar. Salhar is the highest fort in the Sayadri mountains itself, and this was impregnable, meaning it is very difficult for an enemy to trek vertically into the Salhar fort. Whoever used to control the Salhar fort used to control this sector very easily because it is one of the most difficult to, you can say, breach in that regard. Then you have Shivneri. Obviously, Shivneri, very well known to be the birthplace of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj itself. This is the place where the stalwart, the statesman was born, and considered to be the place where he was also mentored by Dadaji Kondev. So that is why it is very, very important. Then two forts which are related to as capitals. The first capital of the Marathas is Rajgarh. Rajgarh was there for 26 years as the capital of the Marathas. Then it will be shifted to Raigad under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Later will be taken by Chhawa himself, and Shambhaji Maharaj is going to operate from here. But Raigad, Rajgarh, remember, Raigad is the second one, Rajgarh is the first one. You should remember this point very clearly. Last is the Troy of the East, as it's called. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj used to say that it is very difficult to enter in the Gingi Fort. Gingi Fort, only fort in Tamil Nadu. If you've been to this place, I had the opportunity recently to go to Gingi. It is astonishing how they've made a fort in this sector. But looking at the Gingi fort, you can realize that the way it has been made, there's one component on the foothill, one component on the hilltop, and at least 10 to 15, 20 kilometers on all sides. You can actually check because it's a flat terrain. So, other than this fort itself, this small hilltop, it's a flat terrain. So, for at least 20 kilometers, you can actually see the enemy coming and you can see all movement in that region. That is what one of the importance of all these Maratha forts. They're very well placed in very strategic location, and that allows them to be placed in a very well space in that regard. And that was one of the power of the Marathas itself, to have very important sectors and control very important sectors in that. Got it, everyone? You will be able to remember, at least now I've done this fourth time in some way or the other. You will be able to remember this, right? I hope. Come on. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, moving to another magnificent cultural, you can say, site of India. This is recently our Prime Minister visited the Gangai Konda Cholapuram temple. In a way, a very good example of Dravida architecture made by Rajendra Chola. Now, the offering itself is very interesting. But for us, what becomes important is who made it? Rajendra Chola, one. Second, why is it called Gangai Konda Cholapuram temple? Because it is a temple which has been made in a city which commemorates Rajendra I going towards the Ganga, defeating certain Pala rulers, and thereafter coming back with the waters of the Ganga. And then he shifted the capital from Thanjavur to Gangai Konda Cholapuram. And therefore, it is called Gangai Konda Cholapuram, the city of the Chola who captured the Ganga. Right? So, therefore, why and who should be sorted? Very interesting part of our history, that one of the most imperialistic power in that regard were the Cholas, one of the most powerful, the Bay of Bengal being as it is the Chola Lake in that. Now, before we go into the architecture, which is the reason why it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, along with the Brihadeshwar Temple at Thanjavur and the Rateshwara Temple at Narathuram, the idea is it is a very good example of Chola, Dravida, you can say grandeur in that regard. Now, do understand one thing, in certain stages, or on certain sites, people mix up Brihadeshwara temple, Thanjavur, and Brihadeshwara temple, Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Meaning, though it is called Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, certain books, very old books, used to call it Brihadeshwara temple also. Brihadeshwara temple is actually in Thanjavur. Now, this is called Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, but some places it will also be referred as Brihadeshwara temple. That is why what happens is one site, Brihadeshwara temple at Thanjavur is Raja Raja. Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple is Rajendra. Some places you will find mixing up this concept. A very well-known institution within the landscape of UPSC on their website has this problem. It will be the first hit also if you Google it. And they will say Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple was constructed by Raja Raja, Rajendra. Why? Because they are mixing up Brihadeshwara concept in that. So please remember this point. This is Rajendra one, not Raja Raja. Some Google most cases gives wrong answers for history. This is where it will give the wrongest of all. So I hope you are going to note this point. Now let's try to understand how it is a specimen of Dravida style temple. Now when we talk about the Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, it has all the features which together will become the most important highest point also and the most important example of Dravid architecture. First is this is not a color which you this you can see. This is called a Gopuram, which is called the entry gate. Then what you see here, this is called the boundary wall. A, B, right? Then when you enter into the temple, you will find all major features. See the parakarams, which are halls around the temple itself. Then we have the Vimana, which is D. Then you have the Shikhar, E. Then we have the Mandapa. Then we have the Ardh Mandap. Then we have the Garbha Griha. And in this complex, on this side, there is actually a water tank. It is now covered by forest water tanks. So if you actually look at it, it has all the major features of a Dravida style temple. Gopuram, boundary wall, water tank, Ardhamandap, Mandap, Garbhagriha, Vimana, Shikhar, and the concept of how the whole thing is made not on a platform and Parakram is there. So all temple design, that is not Gupta period is Nagara style, this is Dravida style. So if you actually look at this temple, very beautiful example of very magnificent Gopuram, Vimana, Shikhar, and thereafter, you can see one more interesting thing. A, B, C, and there are A, B, C. What does this represent? What does this represent? The fact this A, B, C, you already know it, but I would like to check if you know that specific thing. What does A, B, C represent? Very good. But Uveksha, can you qualify what you're trying to say? Panchayatan is fine, but there is one more interesting thing. Very good. ABC represents the concept of Panchayatan without clusterization. Without clusterization, which is three subsidiary shrines are there, but they're not clustered together. There are three separate Vimans, but they are they are not clustered together, unlike in Nagara style, where it would be clustered together into one, like this. Right? So this topic is very simple, but I used it as an opportunity to discuss the concept of what is called as Dravida style architecture. I hope that is sorted. Sorted? Because what I'll do is I'll use this opportunity to also discuss Nagara style. And Nagara style is not that complicated. You have the concept of a Garbhagriha. Then you have what is called as a Shikhar, along with Shikhara, Amlaka, Kalash, Garbhagriha. Thereafter, we have what is called as, this is called the Mandap. The initial part is called the Ardh Mandap. Then it is on a called the Pitha Jagati. It's called the raised platform. No entry gate, no water tank, no boundary wall. Right? So this would be Khajuraho Khandire temple. A good example of Khajuraho school Nagara. Khajuraho school Nagara. I will get an opportunity to discuss this again when we'll discuss the 6 sites which have been nominated recently. Antartal is in both. Antartal is basically this. This is called Antartal, which is where the Mandap meets the Garbhagriha. It is in both Dravida and Nagara both. Antartal is in both. Urushikhar and all Nagara style in that regard. But don't go into that. Welcoming imagery versus fierce imagery, all of that I'm presuming that you know. Oh, that is because of the geography in that regard. So, see, monumental Viman, Chola is very well known for monumental Viman. Ikhar, I think Gopuram, we made it amply clear now. Are we sorted with regards to Nagara Dravida? Yes? Come on. Yes, sir. Have to be more quick to respond. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Now we move on to another temple which was in the news, which is called the Prech Vihar temple, basically, but it's the hair because of the Thai and Cambodian connotation. This temple is on the border of Thailand and Cambodia. And recently, in May, we've reached till May in that regard. May, it was in the news because of a war between these two, war like situation, I will say, between Thailand and Cambodia. And it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its the Punch Gopurams in that regard. But it has a very interesting history. Now, to be very clear, this area is already an area of what is called as flux, meaning till this point, Burma, the British used to operate, and this whole sector used to be called as Indochina, which is the French area, it was under the French. This was called Siam Thailand was like a buffer state between the British and the French. But the dispute between the Thai and the Cambodians and the Vietnamese is age old, wherein you have the Khmer dynasty here, you have the Siamese here. Initially, they had a good relationship. Later, it became problematic. But when Cambodia went into, along with Vietnam and Laos, into French colonialism, there was a treaty which was signed between Thailand, the Thai kings, Siam, and the French, which put the Prech Vihar temple into Cambodian side, which is the French side. And that is where the whole issue is. Both of these countries actually hold a 800-kilometer border, Thailand and Cambodia. The Siamese and the Khmer had a good relationship, which is later going to shift into a bad one. You don't have to learn their history per se, but there will be conflict and conquest. And by 16th century, the Cambodians will be surrounded by two hostile powers, one the Siam in the north and the Vietnamese, the Nguyen as they're called, in the east or the south in that regard, if you look at north and south in that sense. French will then create a map in 1904 in which they will add this temple into the Cambodian side, into the French side. But what is interesting is when Cambodia is going to get independence in 1953, and when they will send their troops to Prech Vihar temple, which is not just important as a temple, it's not the cultural value, it is the strategic value of that hill. That is where the Thai government had already placed their army there. So the Thai government argues this is a Thai site. The Cambodians argue it is our site, it is in our map. Because it is in a Dongrek mountain range, and this mountain range allows for the, you can say, no, the whole concept, the whole concept to be the whole area to be very well strategically located. There is a lot of strategic value. Now went into went into in 1962. The Cambodians dragged the Thai to what is called as the Hague ICJ, the International Court of Justice, and the International Court of Justice actually gave in favor of Cambodia that this is a Cambodian site. And since then, Thailand and Cambodia have been fighting over it. It's a shiva that was very important for us because it's a temple which represents the Indo-Chinese, you can say, understanding in that regard. And the Nandi and the Shiva temple becomes very important, known for its 5 gopurams together created. And Cambodia holds on to it, but Thailand claims it. It is all because of the ICJ concept and the colonial, you can say, map which messed up this area in that messed up this area in that regard. A lot of history, but you have to just remember the two countries which are involved, and thereafter further how it has now become a bone of contention, right? Shushant, with regards to static, nothing will change because same people will evolve, the same concept will be there. Only the art and culture part, the current affairs has been added and updated. If you want to be part of it, sure. So I hope you can now place this with regards to where it is, where does the ICJ concept comes through, what are the two countries which are involved, what is the issue. Please don't do a thesis on this temple itself, but you should know and be aware of it. Shiva temple, right? Everyone. Sushant, the questions in the mains examination were very simple. Harappan architecture, Ashokan religious policy, sorry, not Ashokan, Akbar's religious policy. Chandela art, I will say, was difficult because you don't know it is Khajuraho in that trend, but still can be answered. Modern India question was very easy. So why did you not attempt it? There were three questions out of which two were straightforward. One was a little bit up and down, but still you should have been easily able to answer. Dr. Sri Lakshmi also wrote the mains this time. I think it is quite. The only question which was difficult was civil services ethos one because it's not a GS paper 2 1 question, the GS paper 2 question. Even world history question was very easy with regards to French Revolution. The second question of post independence was very easy. What were the challenges after independence? So three questions out of the whole 7 questions. Only one question you can say is difficult if you say Chandela art. So interesting, but nothing out of the box. Unlike Dutch colonialism once asked Indonesian and world history in that regard, and that's straightforward concepts. But yes, that static will never change. Okay, can I move to Paika? Or out of the seven questions, four were directly out of the courseware also. You could have easily done that. Can I move to Paika? Come on. A break is coming. Don't worry. A break is coming very soon. Yes, sir. Okay. Now we all know that the NCRTs are being revised. I've done a video on this, whole video on this, where which is the new NCRT, which is the old NCRT, and which NCRT to actually trust for history. Unlike geography, where the NCRTs are quite sorted, history is the only subject in UPSC where NCRTs are quite, you can say, uh, it's very complicated. Okay, that is a separate issue altogether. That is a separate issue. So, new and old, there is now a new exploring society. Okay, Prashant. Eh, Part and parcel of UPSC. So, exploring society, there's now a new set of NCRTs which have come. There are the three types of NCRTs which are now there. One old 1986, the other one 2012 to 2024, and now 2025 onwards, another NCRT. But for some reason, this new NCRT, Exploring Society, has omitted certain things. The omission within medieval India would again be put into the larger scheme of things which is happening. That is understandable, or you can say that is not a surprise to us in that regard. The difficult aspect in that regard is that perfect, Sejal. The difficult aspect here is why was Paika removed? Meaning, there's a certain agenda. Under that agenda, there has been a certain rationalization which has been happening. But for some reason, Paika rebellion, a rebellion which is considered to be the precursor to the revolt of 1857, an important, you can say, Gajapati rule reaction to, or a certain traditional reaction to the land revenue settlement in the Odisha sector, Paika was removed for some reason. And that is where the Odisha CM Naveen Patnaik called for, he said that it is uncalled for. It is a huge dishonor in that regard. And that is where NCRT second volume, they're saying they'll bring it back. But again, the omission originally itself made no sense. Made no sense whatsoever. Sushant, for the record, Dr. Lakshmi has joined me twice before for ancient medieval art and culture. Good strategy, Dr. Lakshmi. So the idea is what is now Paika is the question. And what is the point? If you look at the history, what is the problem with Paika is not clear. Why was it removed? Now, the word Paika is used for hereditary warrior class of the Gajapati rulers in Odisha. They were actually given what are called as tax free land grants. And when they were given tax free land grant, they used to have military service in lieu of land grant. So therefore, they used to render service for the land itself. Now, when the British got the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, they introduced permanent settlement in this. And when they introduced permanent settlement in this area, the original traditional rights of a tax-free land grant were taken away from the Paikas, and the Paikas were asked to give some form of, you can say, tax or revenue. And that is where the Paikas basically started to lose out to the very problematic practices of the colonial settlement, specifically permanent settlement. And that in turn meant that they were now having a lot of, you can say, grievances against the fact that we did not give taxes for centuries. Now, why are we doing it? And Paika rebellion, though there are multiple rebellions under it, the most important leader who is actually associated with the Paika rebellion is Bakshi Jagbandhu Vidyadhar. Sometimes the whole name is used, which is Bakshi Jagbandhu Vidyadhar Mohapatra Barabar Rai. He under Mukund Dev II, who was the highest general under Mukund Dev II, he will rise against the British on 2nd April 1817. Paikas will then get the support of the other landed classes also, but the British will use their army, overpower them, and he will be sent to jail and they will crush this rebellion. Now, if you go through this whole profile, there is nothing to be outraged by. There's nothing which does not. Why was it omitted is the whole question. The Paika rebellion, for the purposes of the mains examination, is considered to be a certain point of, you can say, growth of what is called as grassroots level movements towards 1857. 1857 is the culmination point of resistance to Raj. This is a point where the Paikas are one of the, you can say, moments where that resistance in a way came out. So that is where the second volume may bring it back, but the original omission itself makes no sense. Medieval India, there is a certain agenda, there's a separate issue altogether, but this made no sense, right? Okay, started with the concept of what is called as Paika. Sure, Sushant, I will look forward. Sorted, everyone, with me. This is the last topic I do before I give you a break. Come on. UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Great. Okay. So UCCN has been in the news every year. It is in the news. We have a new edition, Lucknow, and there's a lot of static here which needs to be remembered. Firstly, what is the UCCN? What is the category under which Lucknow has been pushed? What are the categories? Because Lucknow obviously is known for its Nawabi cuisine and gastronomy very well. But what are the other cities also? Four type of question. What is it? Which category it has been pushed through? What are the other cities? And what are the other criterias? Two, three what's, one which. So the UNESCO Creative Cities Network concept is a project which is run by UNESCO itself from 2004 to promote cooperation among cities on the concept of creativity and seven indicators which together allow for the recognition of a city and its heritage. That is where there are seven criteria under which a city can be added to the UCCN: craft, media, film, design, gastronomy, literature, music. And by joining it, the best practices are used. These seven should be known, meaning what are the criterias which can be used in order to in a way be added to the list. Thereafter, the most important is this: in India, which cities are already a part of it? Under what category? What category matters? Kozhikode or Kozhikode is under literature. Gwalior Gharana already known for music. Jaipur obviously for art and craft. Banarsi Gharana again is there, three for music, one for Carnatic, two for Hindustani. Hyderabad was there for gastronomy. Now we have Lucknow also here. Mumbai obviously for film. Srinagar for craft, and so we have two under crafts, two under gastronomy, three under music, one under film, and one under literature. This should be clear because this can be asked from time to time. So they can ask you a question on this aspect also. They can ask you an aspect on this also, and they can ask you on this aspect. So in India, which is that category under which no city has been actually nominated? Two categories are there which have not been used in that regard. Which are those two categories? media, arts, and design. You can see media, art, and design are not there. So remember, sometimes remembering this will help you in understanding the larger concepts. Will help you in understanding the larger concepts. So design and media. This is a very important list. This is a very important list. Media, design are two areas where India has no city. Thereafter, this is the whole list. It's clear, everyone? Yes. Craft 2, gastronomy 2, music 3, film 1, 1 literature. Don't say, sir, but sir, film is media. According to them, that's a separate category altogether. Media arts, design. Design of the city itself. Right? Great. Now, we'll talk about Kilidi when we come back from the break. Before I do that, I want to check you have understood the past 1.5 hours. So, can I ask you certain questions? Can I ask you certain questions? You have to quickly answer them in the chat box. If you can, then we'll move forward. Right? Okay. Now, one, two, three, four. Four are there. Please elaborate on the specific criteria chosen to define creativity. These are the criteria which are used for creativity. Creativity, according to them, means this. Shiv means this. Creativity. Right? Okay. Now, four concepts I'm telling you. Rather, one only means only one out of them. Huh? Only one, only two, three, all four. Now, out of these four, which are UNESCO World Heritage Sites? Come on, answers only one, only two, only three, all four. Some of you are saying B, some are saying A, E, some every answer has been given. UNESCO World Heritage Site. C is emerging as the main, but we also have certain Bs. 3. Only 2 also some are saying. So the answer here is only 3. Chennakeshwara temple is Hoysala art. So therefore, 4, 2, 1. All are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Sarnath is a tentative list site. So I could have written here Kesava temple. Again, the answer would have been correct. I could have written Hoysaleshwara temple. It is still correct. So 1, 2, 4 are the correct options. So please, this is a very realistic question which can come in the, yes, Vesara style. That way. Very good. Perfect. Now let's do one more. Okay. Tell me out of this list, who are the Swarajists? Tell me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who are the Swarajists? 1 and 2. 2 and 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them. One, 3, 4. This is where need to revise. T.R. Das, Vittal Bhai Patel. Vallabhbhai Patel and Rajendra Prasad are no changers. The brothers were not on the same page. Vallabhbhai Patel later will contest elections when Gandhi is going to give the Swarajists the blessing in 1924. Before that, Vittal Bhai Patel and C.R. Das, along with Motilal Nehru, were the Swarajists. So these are no changers. These are Swarajists. Make sense? Again, not out of the box. I'm just checking. Have you actually understood what we've done in the past 1.5 hours? Right? Modern history marathon will do later, but if you've already done modern history, this should be already sorted. Not something out of the box we've done till this point. I was expecting more hit rate, but some of you really need to revise. So this is also sorted. You want one more, or should we take a break here? Break. One more. Okay. One more, checking your base understanding. Checking your base understanding. Out of this, which are UNESCO intangible heritage? UNESCO intangible heritage. Again, checking base static understanding. Good to see Antara after modern India. 1, not 4. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5. Only 1. 2, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. Rahul, you have not answered the question. Not 4. Okay, you answered. Yes. Garba, Raman, Mudiyattu, Ramlila. UNESCO intangible heritage. Yakshagana, theatre form from Karnataka, but not intangible heritage. Right? Sorted. So let's take a break here. We'll come back by 8:50, 55 rather. We'll come back by 8:55 and the next 1.5 hours. Right? Sorted, everyone. So I'll just write it on the screen. We will be back at 8:55. How can we get the PDF of the session? In my Telegram group, you'll get it. Right. Let's make it a round number. 9 p.m. We'll be back at 9 p.m. For the next, we have at least 10-15 topics more left. Right? Sorted. So I'll push in a group into the Telegram group when we are back. But yeah, 9 p.m. See you. Chirag, it should be sorted. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Okay, so we have already covered the past 1.5 hours close to 15 to 20 static plus current affairs topics. Now we are going into the territory where we will cover more GI tags plus sites plus certain important developments. Now, the first such site which we have to discuss is a site in Tamil Nadu which is changing our understanding of what is called as ancient history totally. Called Kilidi. And this site is important because it questions the timeline of ancient Indian history. Ancient Indian history. What do I mean by that? Is that if you look at let's look at the timeline first. Timeline goes like this: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, 2.5 million years ago, 10,000, 10,000, 3,200, sometimes you can say 4,000, somewhere to 5,000, and then IVC, which is 2,600, 1,700. Then the timeline bifurcates into two, which is Vedic, 1,500, 1,000, then till 5,000. 500, sorry. And thereafter it becomes Mahajanpadas, then Maurya, then post Maurya, then Gupta. And the South Indian timeline goes like this: Megalithic, 3,000, sometimes 2,000 BCE till 300 BCE. Then Sangam, Kirachola Pandya, 300 to 300. Then Satavahanas. And then last is Vakatakas. Vakatakas. So I made it behind me, sorry, but yes. So megalithic is placed here and Sangam is 300 to 300. So you have Satvahana and Sangam together after a point, and then Vakatakas is the end point. Now, this is based on the fact that first urbanization is here, second urbanization is here, 6th century. This is 324, 184. This is 184, 300. This is 300 to 600. And this is 300 to 300. And Satvahanas is 100 BC. Vakatakas is 300. Now, this timeline is based on the idea that first urbanization is here, second urbanization is here. But what Kiladi does is it complicates this concept because it is an urban civilization with a script, with iron, with copper, along with trade, all around 800 BC. So basically, it would then come up somewhere here, meaning that the second urbanization was not in North India, but in the Kiladi sector, which is called the Vaigai Valley civilization. So the argument would then fully destroy this idea that the South was following what the North was doing, and the North South division would be questioned because Kilidi then argues or gives us evidence of a totally mature civilization somewhere around 800 BCE, which would fall within the Vedic itself, which would fall within the Vedic itself. And this is where things get very interesting. And there has been a lot of politics which has been happening with the by the ASI, by Ministry of you can say uh, Ministry of Culture, where they have rejected the you can say report, Kilidi excavation report given by A. Ramakrishna, by saying that it is not well supported by its arguments. But this is where the Vegai River, the Vegai Valley civilization, and the you can say period which is being talked about is going to fully change how we look at civilizations across India. So we don't need to go into the controversy per se, but once adopted, Kiladi's potsherds, its scriptures, its pottery, the way it has been excavated, the 18,000 artifacts which have been found, they fully destroy the argument that the second urbanization is in Mahajanpada. Then the second urbanization would actually be in the Vegai Valley in south, and iron technology is then adopted much before what is discovered or understood in the north in that regard. And that is very interesting. So this site has been at the locus standi. I've done a video on this also, telling you what is the implication. Why is there so much controversy about this? So therefore, we will try to understand everything together in that context, in that regard, that what is the Kilidi excavations. And you just have to now see, we can't say anything right now because for it to become accepted, first the ASI has to accept it, then it will become part of the standard sources. But you should be conscious of it. Where is it? What is the concept? Why the controversy is there? I think that much you understand. Why Kilidi basically breaks the notions and becomes so important in the larger scheme of. I hope you understand this point. Yes or no? Yes? Yes or no? Perfect. Everybody saying yes? Perfect. Now moving on, uh, there was an instrument which was in the news. Humot comes from Goa. This is a very standard question which can come in the examination. And the reason was of the material used in making the ghumot. Now, this is a ghumot. It's a traditional membrane based, you can say, instrument which is in Goa and is used in multiple cases by multiple tribes and multiple communities. But the reason why it is in question is because this membrane which you see here is made out of a lizard. And that is where there has been a lot of controversy over this concept of using a endangered species, you can say, skin to make the membrane itself. So in 2019, the cabinet said that Ghumot is the Goa cabinet said that it is a state heritage instrument, but the monitor lizard skin for which it is this membrane is made out of, now they made it out of goat hide. Now it does not use the same concept, but it was in the news because it is part of Goan culture, has socio-economic, a lot of different connotations. But you should be able to understand that because the animal hide was previously Indian monitor lizard, now it is goat hide or goat skin. It then tells you how culture, environment interact with one another, interact with one another. That sometimes cultural value is linked to certain animals, and there could be, you can say, environmental damage or environmental connotations or something like this. So this is that way is quite interesting that the Goan Christians, the Goan community uses this, but they have to change their culture in that regard. So the only reason I'm discussing this with you is because of this. GG, remember the in recently in the news, Gomat was in the news. You can just they can ask you which state does it belong to. So you should be able to link it to Goa. That's the only thing why we're discussing it. Interesting on how certain cultures have to change their understanding over, for example, the hornbill, how the community itself has led to the brink of extinction of that bird itself when they had to change the understanding. Okay, now there has been a very interesting development in Udampati where a Shiva temple has been found. We had a lot of literary evidence, textual references were there, but no site was found ever. And that is where a Shiva temple, which is dating to the Pandya period, has been unearthed by mistake. And now the Tamil Nadu state has, in an area which is called Attur. Attur, this was very well known as a very important site for temples, ancient temples. But most of the temples had been destroyed in the process, or were actually not found over a long period of time. But certain boys playing in a ground in Udampati have been able to find a Pandya era Shiva temple, which also has an inscription. Now, that inscription is very important because this adds to the urban nature of the southern peninsula and its sites. Why? Because the Udampati temple inscription talks about two things: transaction and land transfer. It basically refers to how there was a land deed which happened between of a water body and adjoining land for 64 kasu, ancient coins. And it talks about the seller, buyer don't have to learn that, but it talks about what is the land marked for, and what is the expense which the temple deity will give. It talks about the boundaries also. So land grants have always been a very important part of southern architectural space, or you can say southern uh, economic transactions. And now we have another very interesting inscription which talks about, in a way, a Dev Dana grant plus a land grant. So this temple is now going to enhance our understanding. What you should know is Tamil Nadu, you should know Pandya era, you should know that this place was previously called Attur, and it in a way captures the understanding of a sales deed. Sales deed. So interesting. You can say not that important for a mains level question, but you can again get the name of the temple or this area or anything, because they can write Attur, and they have previously asked questions on how certain areas are named, and they're asked what type of, for example, we have a certain question of Gupta era port sites being asked. So this is important in that context. What does it in a way represent? Financial independence of temples, taxation, ownership, how endowments are given, and the idea that the temple had royal patronage. So the concept of Dev Dana grant, very well known in that regard, which is grant to the temple deity, is reaffirmed through this temple itself. Right? Everybody's with me till this point? No issues whatsoever? Two topics. Kiledi more important than this one. Yes? Yes, yes, no, yes, something. Yes, sir. Okay, great. So let's further go ahead. And Kanyakumari district prehistoric site has been discovered. So again in the Kanyakumari district of Tamil Nadu, three sites back to back Tamil Nadu. In the Bhutapandi village, we have found what is called as grooves, what is called as Neolithic grooves. Basically, these grooves represent areas in which Neolithic people used to sharpen their knives and weapons. So, what this reaffirms, why this is important, is the Neolithic history of the Tamil culture and state reaffirms that grooves. You see, this is a groove. So it reaffirms that prehistoric value of Tamil Nadu is very important. Thereafter, we have now found Neolithic grooves, which tells us that agriculture was very well developed. If read with Kilidi, it then also, you can say, reaffirms our understanding that there was a very beautiful and mature civilization called the Vaigai Valley civilization, which in a way adds to this idea that there's no dark age in South India. There's a pure continuation, continuous history of development in this sector. So these grooves, they are in different sizes. Certain big, some are big, some are small. But the idea is this shows the presence of Neolithic humans in southern India, and therefore adds to the concept itself. So we now know we have multiple Paleolithic sites, we have multiple Neolithic sites. Now Mesolithic is already there. Neolithic is confirmed. There used to be a gap. Everybody used to say that it is megalithic, but megalithic gap has been found via Kiledi. And in the end, we are going to talk about Shivagalai. And Shivagalai totally destroys this notion that there's only one very important site or Bronze Age civilization in India, and that is, or Iron Age civilization, which is the Vedic period. We'll talk about Shivagalai in the end. That together, read with all of this, will totally change the understanding of ancient Indian history. Now, coming back to UNESCO, we have discussed UNESCO tangible, we've discussed UNESCO intangible, we've also discussed UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Now we go to UNESCO Memory of the World Register. So, this again is the fourth manifestation of how UNESCO impacts your understanding, which is UNESCO is a very important part of art and culture current affairs. This is Memory of the World Register is another rendition of how UNESCO is protecting our culture, or at least highlighting it. So, the Prime Minister hailed the inclusion of the Gita and the Natya Shastra into the Memory of the World Register as a very important moment for the cultural history of India and the timeless wisdom being added. Now, first question is, what is the Memory of the World Register program, which is the memory of the world? Now, launched in 1992, the program is based on this concept of collective amnesia. Meaning, see, since 1992 and since time immemorial, there are multiple, you can say, texts, certain knowledge, which gets redundant or obsolete over a period of time. So, for example, if today I ask, maybe not you, but today's Gen Zs, if I asked one Panchtantra story, they will say, what Panchtantra, what is this Panchtantra, what is this concept? If I ask them something called, there used to be a magazine called Champak. In their memory, there is nothing. There's only YouTube, there's only TikTok, there's only Instagram. So collectively, we tend to develop certain amnesia. Amnesia is we start to forget. So what the memory of the world register does is it tries to give importance and bring back the focus on certain audiovisual, textual, archival, whatever it may be, global and universal value based heritage. Meaning, it is both tangible and intangible heritage. The text itself is tangible, the knowledge is intangible. UNESCO tries to document it, it preserves it, it also gives it a certain symbol so that it can be very, very well preserved and in a way can be identified very easily. The edition is every 2 years. So for you who are giving in 2026, this is the latest edition, which is Gita and Natyashastra. So what the idea is, we all forget about certain ideas, concepts, and texts over a period of time, and thereafter, they though they are very important for our culture, people tend to forget. And this Memory of the World Register, the Memory of the World program, tries to highlight it and, in a way, remember our understanding. And that is where, with the inclusion of Gita and Natyashastra, India has 14 entries in the Memory of the World Register. And the Rig Veda in 2005, along with the Shaivite philosopher Abhinav Gupta's understanding, along with the non-alignment movement first meeting, with the Dutch East Indies archives, all being added as the Memory of the World Register. These two are going to change the understanding fully. So, why was the Bhagavad Gita added? Not very difficult to understand. Yes, we know that Ramcharitamanas was added last year in the last, you can say, revision. So, Bhagavad Gita obviously is very important because, as part of the Mahabharata, this 700 verse philosophical dialogue written by Vyasa is very important for morality. It is important for dharma, what is karma, and therefore, it is one of the most important texts which till today impacts our understanding of bhakti, karma, dharma, and gyan. And therefore, this is where slam dunk Bhagavad Gita should have been in this already. People are now resurrecting the ideas, are now discussing it on YouTube and on Instagram. But Bhagavad Gita, this should have been a very, you can say, edition should have happened much earlier, but has taken till 2025 to be done. Then again, much like the Bhagavad Gita, Nat Shastra, again, very important text. One of the first texts which we actually discuss as part of classical dances, written by Bharata Muni, one of the most important texts for dance, music, drama, and aesthetical experiences. And it is also the first time we see the concept of ras, which is essence, the way in which you express your understanding, be it happiness, be it sadness, be it love. So therefore, the emotional, spiritual impact of performance, dance, everything is very well captured. So Natyashastra and the Bhagavad Gita are texts which are actually quite important, but not talked about enough. Not talked about enough. And therefore, it is important and very well also recognized by UNESCO that we remember them. You have to remember Natyashastra, Bhagavad Gita for sure. For sure, because these are the latest editions for you. So, what is UNESCO Memory of the World Register? First question, this should be clear. Second, latest editions. And over and above that, important concept is why do we need to conserve? Is this sorted, everyone? Is this sorted? What is it? What are the new additions? And why do we need to conserve? Because we all have a collective amnesia. Over a period of time, we tend to forget. Very good. Now, GI tag. I will not presume. No, Garba is a intangible heritage. Don't do this, don't do this. Memory of the World Register is not part of intangible heritage. That is a separate list. That is a separate list. It is has nothing to do with the intangible heritage list. It is a separate concept altogether. Rag, if when you're saying Garba, you are adding it to a list where it does not exist. So we have UNESCO tangible, intangible, UCCN, and then Memory of the World Register. All are separate. All are separate. Don't mix this up. Now, if I have to discuss this concept, I need to presume that you understand what is GI tag. But I won't. I will still give you an understanding, basic understanding. See, GI tags are part of what is called as TRIPS, trade related intellectual property rights. WTO. There are four concepts under TRIPS, and this is one of the corollaries of it. One is called patent, given for 10 to 20 years, according to which type of patent it is. Given for industrial design, pharma, innovative innovations, discoveries, vaccines, etc. Most, you can say, stringently applied, and if you break it, you can be taken to court. You have to give damages. Then you have something called trademark, copyright, and the concept of registered. Small r, big R, TM, and C. Trademark is for and registered is for companies. This is for the name. This is for the symbol. For example, what you see here is the trademark of Unacademy. Unacademy itself is a registered entity. The name itself is registered. And copyright is for literature, songs, music, and films. This is where any textual concept comes. Yeah, this is basically logo. Logo are trademarks. You have, for example, the Nike logo, and Nike is the name. Registered logo is this. All four are very well established, very stringently applied also. Meaning, if you breach a trademark, if you breach a copyright, if you breach a registered, you will be taken to court. There will be, you can say, fines also. However, once you can see the sister of trademark is the concept of geographical indicators. Sometimes called indications also. Now, GI has two very interesting peculiarities. Geographical indication, firstly, is given on unique quality of a certain product based on the location or geography from which it is originating. So it is based on again, I'm doing that Umida only. I'm explaining to you GI tags are part of TRIPS. TRIPS is four different concepts: patent, trademark, copyright, registered. And the trademark, you can say sister or corollary as it is called, is geographical indication. Geographical indication is given to certain products which have unique quality because of their location and geography. So, for example, you have let's take simplest example, which was in the news also, the Tirupati Laddu. So it is a laddu food item which has a GI because it originates in Tirupati. It has Kolhapuri chappal, Darjeeling tea, whatever you want to use. And for example, Kher Sangri. The idea is the location, geography, place of origin gives it a certain taste quality which cannot be produced anywhere else. For example, Kher Sangri from Rajasthan. It is a dish which is produced in Rajasthan, has the exact same taste only in Rajasthan, and that is why it has been now attributed to Rajasthan. Very importantly, GI tags is not given to individuals. It is given to state or region. So anybody producing in that region can use the word GI. So geographical and GI is actually administered by the GI Act of 1999. And this, if you basically breach GI, the GI registrar is going to reprimand. There's no stringent action, unlike, for example, trademark, patent. Very stringent action is there. Here, stringent action is not. So, Kher Sangri, in that regard, has been the new addition to GI. Do we understand what is GI first? Do we understand what is GI? Do we understand what is GI? Because then only I have multiple GIs to discuss. Do we understand what is GI? Yes, sir. So, Kher Sangri is a famous Rajasthani dish which has been given geographical indication for its unique regional traditional method of making and taste. Now, where does this word Kher Sangri come from? Kher is a small wild berry. Sangri is the beans grown on the kejari tree and is native to the arid region itself. It is a survival food, used to be used in droughts, and thereafter it has now become a delicacy. And the Bishnoi community is the one which has protected this tree, the kejri tree. The kejri tree produces a bean which is added. So sangri is that bean, and the wild berry which is called kher. Kher sangri together is very important part of Rajasthani history, and along with that the Bishnoi community. To add to this, the other GIs which are from Rajasthan, I have given you a list here so that you can just use this as a reference, take a screenshot. All of these are also GI tags from Rajasthan. So Kher Sangri is the new addition. Remember, there is nobody in this world who can remember 500 plus GIs. So GI tags don't try to learn everything with regards to GI. If you will try to learn the whole list of GI, it is 500 plus. What you have to do is only the latest editions. So Kher Sangri being the first one which you should know, Rajasthan. Very straightforward question which can come in the examination is a match the following, where you have Kher Sangri, Rajasthan. This is the simplest but very important understanding. Recent is the most important, right? Then this is a very interesting and important topic because of this word INSV. INSV. We'll talk about Bengal. We'll talk about Bengal. We'll talk about all the additions. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that. We will talk about all the GIs. It is going month wise. That is why Bengal, the GIs were not that recent, but we'll discuss all of them. Now, recently, the Indian Navy inducted the Indian Navy sailing vessel called the Kondinya, and it is made out of a certain method which is called Tankai method. Tankai method. Now, Tankai method is an ancient way in which we used to make shipbuilding method. So, therefore, three things become very important. INSV Kondinya. Why is it called Kondinya? And what is this Tankai method? Now, this has been developed in agreement with Indian Navy, Ministry of Culture and Goa-based shipbuilding industry. And it is actually named after a sailor who is considered to be very important of the Khmer dynasty and Southeast Asian history. So first, let's understand who is Kondinya. Kondinya is considered to be the first century Indian mariner who sailed to the Mekong Delta and thereafter married a queen called Soma and co-founded modern day kingdom of Funan, which is nothing but Cambodia. He will also become the precursor to the Khmer and Cham dynasty, and also will have certain origin theories or stories linked to Vietnam. So therefore, in Cambodian and Vietnamese history, unlike in our history where we forget these type of personalities, in Cambodian and Vietnamese history, the importance of Kondinya is very evident, and he is mentioned multiple times. Somehow in Indian sources we don't talk about him, but the concept of Southeast Asian soft power, the concept of Indo-China, all of it comes from here itself. And what we've done is we have now named a ship, the INSV Kondinya, modeled around the what we call as Ajanta cave paintings, in which we have a reference to Kondinya, and the Ajanta murals, which talk about foreign travelers, which was commissioned and written by King Bhoja. It has very interesting, you can say, symbols. You can see, for example, the two-headed eagle, which is a symbol of the Kadamba dynasty. It has the sun motif, which is equally important in that regard. And you have the yali, a mix of a elephant and tiger. And Harappan style stone anchor is also there. So bringing the history of IVC till what is called as Kondinya together. Together, and the ship peculiarity, why it is so important, the uniqueness in that regard. One second. Uniqueness is that it has been made by a method which has been known in India for 2000 years, which is called Tankai method. Now, Tankai method is very interesting because Western technology of making ships uses planks and nails, meaning they will make a frame like this, and then they will put a certain plank here and then put nails on it. So they use iron, and that makes the ship vulnerable to the seawater also. And over a period of time, the hull is going to deplete automatically. But in India, we had a very interesting method which is called the stitching plank technique, meaning teak, sal, and mango wood were stitched together, drilled together in such a way with coil ropes, with cotton, resin, and fish oil as waterproofing, meaning we did not use any form of iron. Therefore, it was lighter, more flexible, easier to repair, and over a period of time, these Europeans made the Tankai method obsolete. But for us, it was one of the most important, where we used to tuck in two planks together and then stitch them together in such a way that there was no need for the concept of a nail itself. And then we used to put a certain resin on it, which used to make it waterproof. So, for the purpose of the examination, you need to know who is Kondinya. You should know what is the concept of INSV. You should know what is Tankai method. And you should know the Ajanta motives which are there. You should also know that Goa government plus Indian Navy plus Ministry of Culture all have made it together. So these are the facts which you should know before you go into the examination, because any of this could be asked as a statement based question or straightforward question as a two marker. So I hope that you will remember this, because it is our ancient understanding. Tankai method is something where we can expect a statement based question, or they can also ask you straightforward, what is Tankai method related to? What is it related to? Then it is very easy in the exam context to forget something like this, right? Now, this again was in the news for at least 4 months. Started by a certain auction by Sotheby's, and the P. Parva relics finally came back to India after 3 months of pursuing it. So these are certain relics which had been found at P. Parva, a very important site, but taken by British estate or manager, and then by the British government. And it was put on the, you can say, auction by Sotabai. And Ministry of Culture very quickly intervened in saying that cannot sell relics which are related to Buddha's life itself in a place which is already related to the, you can say, Buddhist history in a very close way. It is believed that the P Parva stupa, which was looted by William Claxton Pepe basically was took away a very important part of Buddhist history, and now it was in a way being sold. So the P Parva relics are related to how the same clan from which Buddha comes, the Shakya Republic, actually buried certain important relics inside the P Parva stupa. This was found by a British estate manager and officer and engineer called Pepe in 1898. And thereafter, he said that these are very important precious stones. And because it was his estate, he said, I have certain control over it. What the British government did was, under what is called as the 1878 Indian Treasure Trove Act, it was divided. So some was kept by Pepe's family, some was kept by the British government. British government said that we've kept it in the Kolkata Indian Museum, and Pepe's family got something. Most probably we were given the fake, the real ones were taken by Pepe, and they were being optioned by Sotabai. Indian government intervened, Ministry of Culture intervened. Now finally, all of these relics and along with the certain inscriptions have been brought back to India, enriching our understanding. So what you have to understand is who is this person, where is P Parva, and why the P Parva stupa is very, very important. This was an ongoing story over 3 months, which ended with we getting our culture back in that regard. Quite significant, quite important in the larger scheme of things. Sorted, everyone? Two heavy topics. After this is small topic, we'll go to GIs. After this, we have multiple GIs to consider, along with one personality. Shankaran Nair, and then multiple GIs. Clear? Everybody has to say, yes, yes, sir, we are sorted, alive. Come on. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, recently, the ASI, along with World Monuments Fund India, they have, and the TCS Foundation have successfully completed the conservation of what is called as Rajan ki Bauli. Now, Baulis are basically step wells. So if you want, for example, if water is on this level, you have a way of reaching it, for example, through a well. But you can also do it in the way of a step well. For example, you cut the terrain in such a way that you can go down to the step well and take water. Baulis were quite common. A very important part of the, you can say, North Indian landscape during the Delhi Sultanate period. Rajasthani design and Rajasthani culture in that regard. Rajasthani Gujarati technology also of reaching to water. Baulis were very important for certain communities because that was the only way in which they were able to get access to fresh water. Now, the World Monuments Fund India, this is the first thing which you should know, is an independent organization. Remember this, it is UNESCO, non UN organization. First thing, because this can be played as part of the concept which the UPSC asks you, which is UPSC can say that it is a subsidiary of the UNESCO, it is a body linked to the UNESCO. No, it is an independent organization which safeguards certain places which are considered to be very important to culture and understanding of communities in that regard. It was since 1965, 700 sites in 112 countries have been protected and conserved through the fund in that regard. And its headquarters is in New York City. Further, it actually partners with local communities, funders, governments, and together tries to boost tourism, preserve. And in that regard, in 2015, India was considered to be a very important space in which these things need to be conserved and in a way seen. And they have also been able to link corporate social responsibility with the World Monument Fund India in that regard. This is the organization along with the ASI, along with TCS. That is where the CSR comes through, corporate social responsibility comes through. So it is for CSR funding, World Monuments Fund India, and ASI coming together to, in a way, protect this. This is called the Rajan Ki Bauli. Rajan means mason. So you must have heard of this word called Raj Mistri. Raj Mistri. So Raj Mistris are called masons. Rajan. So Rajan Ki Bauli is basically a bauli which was made in, it is still exists in the Mehrauli Archaeological Park, that whole Kutub complex area, made by Daulat Khan during the reign of Sikandar Lodi, Lodi dynasty period. Basically, you should know this, you should know this. It is a very important testament to Lodi architecture. It was specifically for the cooking and drinking purposes of the masons in that regard. So it actually protects the history and represents the history of masons during the Lodi period. And you can see that very important Lodi, you can say, influence. This is the first, which is the, you can say, double dome type structure, the inverted lotus, the way the arches are used, very, very specific to Lodi. So, Rajan Ki Bauli, how CSR, ASI, and an international body comes together. You can get statement based question on the world's monument funds India. You should also be able to place which dynasty it is, and thereafter you should also understand that it is for a specific community. So nothing out of the box here, but interesting in that regard, that all of these things come together, that how certain things represent a certain community and we have to protect them also. Stepwell standard, this is irrelevant to you, but yeah, the idea is you should be able to place Lodi plus World Monuments Fund India, CSR, plus the idea that it is Masons. Nothing out of the box. Now, coming back to modern India, this personality, T. Shankaran Nair, was in the news because of the movie Kesari 2. Kesari 2. And though he was highlighted in the movie, very important personality. The problem is that the whole context, the whole movie line, or rather, I'll say the whole, you can, the proceedings and the case itself, all were wrong. Meaning, if you've seen Kesari 2, till the point they say that there's a person called C. Sankaran Nair and his designations and his involvement in the Jallianwala Bagh committee, all of that is fine. But thereafter, the whole case is wrong. Why? Because C. Sankaran Nair did not fight a case against Dyer. He fought a case against O. Dwyer. Dyer was the general who was present on the ground, who was the one who gave the shooting orders. O. Dwyer is the person who was the lieutenant governor at that point. Lieutenant governor of that point of time. He fought a case in 1922 against O. Dwyer. Yes, the person who was killed by Udham Singh, because as it is, Dyer is going to die of a cancer by 1927. So therefore, the movie portrays the whole proceedings wrong. The fight and the, you can say, uh, the whole concept was not against Dyer but O'Dwyer. So therefore, though there is a lot which we got to know about C. Sankaran Nair, he was not given the right space within history as he should have been. So, what is the real story? Sri Sankara Nair was born in 1857, aristocratic family, modern day Kerala. Very, very, very good student of law. He will complete his graduation in law from Presidency College, Madras. Then he will become a legal counsel. He will start his career under the what is called as Chief Justice of Madras High Court, Shepherd, Sir Shepherd as he was called. And later, he will become one of the best examples of a Indian intellectual, the middle class intelligentsia, if you want to call. Because in 1897, he will become the youngest president of the INC and the only Malayali to do so. Thereafter, he will become also the member of the Ray Commission of Curzon in 1902. He will then be given the Companion of the Indian Empire Award in 1904, and he will be knighted in 1912. He will later become a permanent judge in the Madras High Court, and also progressive give a lot of good judgments on what is called as reform oriented understanding. And in 1915 he will reach to the pinnacle of becoming the education minister, or within the Viceroy's Executive Council the portfolio which he was heading was education. So his you can say from 1897 to 1915, from becoming a lawyer to then becoming one of the youngest presidents of the INC, to then becoming the part of the Ray Commission, to then be given the Companion of the Empire, then becoming the knighted, then becoming a permanent judge. He will, in the end, reach the highest pinnacle, education portfolio within the Viceroy's Executive Council, 1950. Now, what is interesting here is he was considered to be a very good example of a collaborator, meaning the Indians also are believe in the empire. That is why a person like C. Shankara Nair would be part of the empire in that regard. Right. Now, as soon as Jallianwala Bagh massacre is going to happen on 13th April 1919, he will then become a part of the Jallianwala Bagh committee. He will be sidelined, and though he had dissented, that aspect is very well captured. He dissented within the what we call as a Hunter Commission, but he was still his you can say not the Hunter Commission, the Viceroy's Council Commission. And thereafter, his dissent was not registered and said that it was a unanimous saying that Dyer is not to be blamed. And because of the actions of the British government on 13th April 1919, he is going to resign. Then he will resign as the education minister or education portfolio manager within the Executive Council. That will trigger a major controversy, and the official Hunter Commission will be established after his resignation. So Jallianwala Bagh happens. Viceroy's Executive Council committee member, or a certain Viceroy Executive Council commission is established that acquits Dyer. He is going to resign, and then the Hunter Commission is going to be established to say that there is a lot of controversy. His resignation showed that there is something wrong. But the reason why C. Sankara Nair is considered to be so important is not because of the resignation. It is because he will write a book in which he will blame O'Dwyer. He will blame O'Dwyer for the Jallianwala Bagh. O'Dwyer will then give a defamation case, will submit a defamation case against Nair in an English court in 1922. The trial will go on for 5.5 weeks, one of the longest running. And against 11 is to 1, obviously the Britishers are going to be the Britishers only. Justice Henry McCarty was the only one, was the one who was presiding over this. And it was only Lasky who said that Shankara Nair is right. He will be asked to pay either 500 rupees as 500 pounds as fine, or apologize to O'Dwyer. And he will not apologize, give that 500 pounds. And this will be considered one of the most outward expressions of the bias which the British have towards their own officers, and how they are they are manipulating the whole landscape itself. So therefore, Sri Sankaran Nair, what he did was he was able to expose the British in the British jurisprudence, in Britain itself, and also in India. So his contribution is not that he fought a case against another lawyer who was Indian, and that whole Madhavan angle which is brought in, and the fact that he was fighting it with Dyer, he had to prove that that nothing like that. Jallianwala Bagh massacre, his resignation led to the establishment of Hunter Commission, and the legal battle which he fought was in 1922 against O'Dwyer, not Dyer. So I hope in the examination you are not going to distort your understanding because of popular imagination. This is the context which you should know, not the context which is talked about. Good movie talks about a lot of things, highlights about a lot, but it is not telling you the right context in that regard. It's a purely distorted story, but in a way brings focus to a person who was previously not talked about. Are we clear? There is a very good chance that we get a question on him because he's that unknown personality who's not talked about in the larger scheme of things. Right? All good, everyone? Yes, sir. Okay. Now, moving on to another set of GI tags. Three items or three objects from Banaras were given GI tags, all rejoiced by the Prime Minister himself. He was the one who talked about the Banarsi Shehnai, the Banarsi Tabla, and the Banarsi Bharvan Mirch were officially given GI tags. And this is where the Shehnai tabla are two very important symbols of the Banaras or Varanasi culture in that regard. The Banaras Shehnai, deeply rooted in the Banaras Gharana of Indian classical music. We all know about Ustad Bismillah Khan when he used to play the Shehnai. It used to rain in that regard, and he was famously the one who played the Shehnai at the Red Fort on India's first Independence Day. And this is linked to now wedding culture, but this type of Shehnai, Ustad Bismillah Khan Shehnai, is now a GI tagged, you can say, musical instrument to UP, to Banaras in that regard. Second is the Banarsi tabla. We're not using the word Banaras because we're using this word which is used for the original words. Banaras is the word which is used, not Varanas, right? Banaras, not Varanasi, Banaras. Uh, Now, Banaras Tabla Gharana, again, because of the Banaras Gharana, Tabla, or called it the Purab Gharana, and in that, the rich tonal clarity of the Banaras Tabla is now again recognized under GI. The Banaras Gharana is recognized as one of the six principal gharanas of India itself, and for Kathak, which is the classical dance of the state, the Shehnai plus the tabla played a very important role in re-establishing or putting focus on the Indian, you can say, that rather the Hindustani music in that regard. The third thing which got a GI from Banaras was the Banarsi Lal Bharvan Mirch, very well known for its very vibrant color and the ingredients, and it is very good source of what is called as vitamin C and A. This recipe has also got so one food item, two musical instruments got recognition under GI. So our GI is Kher Sangri plus Banarasi Lal Bharvan Mirch, the tabla, and Shehnai. Right? This is what we've done. And this is Rajasthan, all Uttar Pradesh. Perfect. Now, another GI was given. Looking at the name, which state does it belong to? Use your logic. Which state would it belong to? Looking at the name. Come on, tell me. Which? Very good. So you are looking at this and coming to the conclusion Karnataka, right? Eh, belongs to Kerala. This is where a unique tribal handicraft from Kerala has received GI protection. This is called the very beautiful tribal culture based carpets. So this is where, please understand, the urge to link, the urge to link this specific type of carpet making to Karnataka comes from the word which looks like, that is the whole point. And as Sri Lakshmi is telling us, it has a specific connotation in Malayalam. So it is one of the first tribal products, the Kannadipa, which has been now, which means mirror mat with a shine, very unique, what is called as reed bamboo mats. This is what is known for. So please do remember, again, simple, straightforward. It is from Kerala, not from Karnataka. It is produced in multiple places within Kerala, and best quality reed bamboo mats come from this area. Historically, this had been used to give to kings by the tribal leaders, and this is where it's a crucial GI. What is important is it is the first tribal product from Kerala to get this first tribal product. Very important that way. Produced all across Kerala. Right now, for the student who was rooting for West Bengal, the GI list of the West Bengal based, you can say, editions are here. So, West Bengal achieved a significant milestone in giving 7 new products, GIs, out of which most of them are actually sweets. The first and the most principal was the Nolen Gurer Sandesh, or Sandesh as it is called. So it's a winter delicacy made by Chena and Nolengur, which is date palm jaggery in that part. And the Nolengur enriches the flavor, gives it a very specific type of color. And the Sandesh in that regard has a very peculiar taste which you will not find anywhere else. Anywhere else in India, even in Bengal, if it is not called the Nolen Gurer. Because of the date palm jaggery, it gives a very interesting, you can say, taste in that regard. After that, we also have the uh, Karampur white bonde, which is again a sweet from that area. Then we have the Murshidabad Chena Bora, again Chena based sweet coming from West Bengal. Vishnupur Motichur Laddu, again known for its very rich taste in that regard. Then you have the Radha Radhuni Pagal, Radhuni Pagal rice, very unique and good quality coming from again West Bengal. Malda Nistari Silk yarn, which is again very well known in West Bengal. Now, in most cases, Chenabora, Bonde, Motichur Laddu, and because it is Malda, you know that it is coming from West Bengal. The only which you need to learn is the Radhuni Pagal rice. I may be pronouncing it incorrectly, but you have to remember this only. Because everywhere else, as soon as you see Sondesh, it will be West Bengal. Bonde, Chanabora, Taddu, it will be West Bengal. The way to learn this is that learn the one which you obviously can't predict in the examination. If you can predict in the examination through certain forms of, you can say, keywords, then don't have to learn them. Because if they write Malda, then it is very slam dunk that it is going to be, it is because it is called Malda's silkwear. So there are tricks to learn this. Learn the ones which are not obvious, right? The obvious ones cannot be learned. You can automatically use logic in the examination to come to the answer. So sometimes logic also works. So seven from West Bengal, one from Rajasthan, one from Kerala, and three from UP. This is the updated list which we have, right? Sweets, Sangri, the Mat, and Banarsi, Tabla, Mirch, and the concert of Shehnai. Are we all alive till this point? Because then I'll move to Meghalaya, where again we have another GI to two handlooms. Are we all here? Sorted, everyone? Come on, tell me. Last push. Last push. Another 10-15 minutes I need from you. Nothing out of the box. We are doing now the what is called as more factual areas here. So yeah, okay. Now the government of India has officially given GI to two textile products from Meghalaya. One is called the Rindia silk. The other one is called Khasi handloom. Rindia silk and Khasi handloom are two very iconic textiles coming from the, you can say, Meghalayan sector, linked to the tribes, and therefore very beautiful. And see, again, you don't need to learn. See, Khasi is very easy. Garo Khasi jante hai. It is only Rindia which you have to learn. What you have to learn here is GI state. That is the easiest and the straightforward question which can come. After that, as it is input output is not worth it. So Rindia silk and Khasi handloom have got GI tags so as to recognize tribal culture and understand. So Rindia is known for its very distinctive hand fabric made by hand, naturally dyed organic products developed to boost the identity of the Rindia, you can say sector, the Rindia tribe itself. And NABARD has played, along with Meghalaya Department of Textile, very important role in pushing for the GI and giving it some form of understanding. So Khasi handloom, we have Meghalaya, very beautiful, you can say orange and red colors are used, very well preserved tradition, but not fully recognized by Indians in that regard, and therefore very important for our GI landscape in that. Now, the last major, you can say we are going backwards. So the last major GI tag was given to what is called as the Warangal. Again, don't have to learn it because the name itself gives away the state. Warangal Chatpata Chili. So the Warangal Chatpata chili, which is known for its very beautiful orangish color, which falls in the Telangana state in that regard. Sorry, not orange, is reddish color. Tomato red is as it is called. The tomato chili that is called. This is now got recognition through GI. So any producer from Warangal from Telangana state can now actually sell it as the Warangal Chatpata chili, the tomato chilies as they called. Very beautiful. We reached till March of 2025. So they were moving towards December in that regard. This is a very important, you can say, recognition. So, so before we go to a personality, three from UP, two from Meghalaya, seven from West Bengal, one from Telangana, one from Kerala. This is what we've understood till this point, right? Telangana, Kerala, West Bengal, Meghalaya, UP. So, as I said, by the time you give the examination, I will add more. Yes, one from Rajasthan. We will update this list. This is how you follow GI. GI can only be managed like this. If you are doing anything else, it will be very difficult to manage. That is the whole point. By the time I come with the next 6 months, I have at least 10, 15 added more. The whatever you want to call it, Shiva, the spelling is this. Tapata, chili, whatever you want to call. Right? Now, recently a Kathak dancer passed away. Very important personality. But again, we don't really know about her. That is the irony of art and culture in India. Kumundali Lakhia was one of the pioneers of Kathak in India. But unfortunately, if I show you her image and ask you who she is, you will not be able to actually even place her what is her main contribution. Now, just to tell you, she has been given the Padma Vibhushan on the Republic Day this year. Along with that, she is one of the most well-known Kathak dancers and choreographer. She worked in one of the most, you can say, iconic films, Umrao Jan, as the main choreographer, and she's one of the biggest losses when it comes to classical dances. She has the Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Vibhushan, Sangeet Natak Academy Award, Kalidas Samman, Gaurav Puruskar from the Gujarat government. And spreading, she has been spreading the importance of Kathak and its choreography and its form across India and even in Europe, US, and India. She is considered to be one of the most important personalities after Birju Maharaj. But unfortunately, nobody knows about it. No one. And this is where we all have to sometimes recognize and understand who are these people who are keeping our culture alive and taking it forward and taking them forward in that regard. So please, if she can come as a very simple, straightforward question in the examination, even if she doesn't come in the examination, she deserves our, you can say, homage. She deserves our attention because she has kept Kathak alive, you can say, since 1930. So a maestro and a legend in every sense in that regard. Right? Okay. Now we come to a scheme. We come to a scheme. That scheme is called Heritage Repatriation Fund. As of right now, the parliamentary panel has proposed a certain fund which can bring back smuggled antiquities to India. See, India was under colonial rule. A lot of our antiquities, lot of our real murtis, lot of our important, you can say, cultural heritage was smuggled out of India, taken as tokens, taken as prizes by these Britishers and sold off across the world. What the center is proposing is through the parliamentary panel is that we need to create a fund through which we can actually using Ministry of Culture bring back the stolen items back. But why do we need these funds? We need these funds to sometimes establish and buy these off this market also. Meaning, in certain cases, we need DNA testing. For example, for certain mummified Buddhist monks who are sold in the market itself. You need AI based authentication. You need certain legal action and counsels in that regard. You need private public partnership. You need certain advocates to fight for our, you can say, antiquities. And that is where, as of right now, it has not been created, but it has been proposed by the center to create a fund to bring back our heritage. Again, when it will be established, more important, but a certain thing which the government of India is considering. Is considering. Now, before, if you look at the cycle, if you look at, but it's ours, we have to establish that. For establishing that, you need money. So for 2025-26, which site has been nominated by the government of India for tangible heritage for 25-26? Very good, Sarnath. 24-25, it was Maratha military landscape and it got it also. Now that Sarnath has been nominated, 6 new properties have been proposed to the tentative list. So I hope you understand they have been added into the inventory. They will be later further nominated by, by the government of India if needed to the representative list. So this is the first step of adding certain sites into the inventory. Now, what are the sites which have been added into the inventory? The UNESCO inventory is important because that is the only inventory which we can nominate for representative list. But certain major gaps were there. For example, there's some for the natural sites. The Kanger Valley National Park has been nominated from Chhattisgarh. It is the home to the Bastar Hill Myna, which is the state bird of Chhattisgarh. Very dense forest, very beautiful landscape in that regard. A very well protected site. This national park has been now added to the inventory to be nominated later for representative list. You should know that it is in the tentative list. Now it is in focus also. And you should know Bastar Hill Myna, Chhattisgarh state bird. This is again very, very important generally. This is the Bastar Hill Myna. The second site which has been, which should obviously would have been in the, should have been in the inventory, are Ashokan edict sites across India, meaning all the major and minor rock edict sites, including the Mansera, Shahbazgadi, Kalsi, then you have Dhauli, Jaugada, Amravati, uh, Yeraguddi, Sopara, Girnar, with all of its important capital figures in that regard. They all have been now nominated for the tentative list. This should have been in the representative list. Somehow they had not been nominated till today. Again, Buddhist angle is here. Buddhism is being used as a form of soft power to or represent or present our, you can say, geopolitical, you can say, diplomacy and understanding in that regard. The third is something which, for which UPSC has already asked a question, which is called the Chausat Yogini temples, on which the old, you can say, parliament was based on, the circular parliament in that regard, and built by the Kachapaghat kings. This was what was changed in that, you can say, statement-based question. It was written Kalchuri. And Chausat Yogini temples are one of the most unique temples in India because they're circular temples based on the Yogini cult, the concept of Shiva and the 64 Yoginis. That is what's called Chausat. So what happens is you have a certain, you can say, platform to go up. Central shrine is always Shiva, and all around it you have 64 temples which are dedicated to 64 yoginis. So it's related to, and it is believed that the Chausat Yogini temple was the inspiration. It's a previous year question. Inspiration for the Baker and Lutins actually took inspiration from this temple to actually make the old parliament, not a British concept, but a concept which basically was picked up from our own heritage. Again, well deserved site, should have been in the representative list, somehow has been evading and is actually in the, what we call as, now in the tentative list, should be nominated soon. And it should have been this only, but they've nominated Sarnath in that regard. Then the whole Gupta temple assemblage across India, which represent the 5 stages of development of temple, Nagara style architecture. Starting from Deoghar temple to Dasavatar temple, the Nagara style architecture evolved from these 5 stages. All 5 stages are in the Gupta period, and that is where the Gupta temples in North India have now been added to the tentative list. This again, along with the Mauryan pillars, should have been in the tentative list or at least as a representative site, but they aren't. Now we are again recognizing these important, you can say, cultural understandings in order to recognize them. Gupta temples in North India. Then you can see the Deoghar temple is one of the templates on which the Nagara style temple architecture itself evolved, from Panchayatan to concept of what is called as Shikhar, the Garbhagriha, the concept of raised platform, as you can see here, all are represented here in that regard. Then the palace fortresses of the Bundelas, what is called as the Orcha complex in that regard, built by Rudra Pratap Singh, the Bundela rulers. This can now come in the examination because Chandelas have already come. Now you can have the Bundelas also coming through. Rajput Mughal Hindu architecture mixed, Orcha fort, the Orcha landscape as it is called, the use of Chhatri, the use of Indo-Islamic architecture along with the inverted lotus, the dome structures, very beautiful representation of what is today called as the Orcha or Bundela architecture. Very important for the examination. Very, very, very important, because now they're going to early medieval dynasties. Bundela architecture can come in the examination. Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, two states where we have the representation in that. Thereafter, we also have the what is called as Mudumal megalithic menhirs. So menhir is a type of megalithic which are called basically as honoring stones or warrior stones, or basically the precursor to what is called as a stone which represents the, uh, you can say, the grave of a very important personality. So, based in Telangana, the Mudubal megalithic menhirs are now added to the tentative list of the World Heritage. You can say tentative list or UNESCO World Heritage list. 3,500 to 4,000 years ago, but the largest megalithic burials, 80 tall menhirs are there, 3,000 small ones are there, and all are in a way very sacred to this space, and all represent very important personalities who are considered to be part of the larger landscape of heroes and, yes, heroes and stone symbols. You can say the concept is that you want to recognize their contribution. So these places were marked. Not everybody got a menhir, but menhirs are an important expression of how we talk about warriors and their sacrifices in that way. So these six new sites have been added to UNESCO tentative list. Now you tell me one thing. Are these six automatically important because they are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, or just because they've been mentioned in the newspaper? Because you have to understand, they are not UNESCO heritage sites. They are not UNESCO heritage sites. They are just tentative sites. Just because they've been mentioned in the newspaper, they become important. So please do note it. Let's see in the next 4 to 5 years, we should have these sites getting the recognition. Till then, their mention in the newspaper is important, and that should be noted in that. Now, going back to a scheme of the government of India, it's called Global Engagement Scheme. Looks like a scheme which most probably Ministry of Foreign Affairs would do, but it is by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. And the idea is that the Ministry of Culture will promote Indian heritage, will fund certain cultural interaction, and showcase Indian culture across the world. So under the Global Engagement Scheme, Indian missions and Indian high commissions are going to host festivals, give grant in aid to foreign cultural societies, which actually celebrate Indian culture, and contribute certain grants to international organizations which protect and represent Indian culture. So basically, India is paying certain institutions to showcase, spread, and protect our culture abroad. So do remember, global engagement scheme looks like a scheme which would be most probably would be in, you can say, Ministry of External Affairs. It isn't. It is Ministry of Culture, and it is not about spreading it in India, but globally by funding global institutions. Right? All good, everyone. Sorted. Last push. Come on. Yes, sir. Beautiful. Okay. Now, an important Ramayana, which is called the Tamil Ramayana, the Kamba Ramayana, the Ministry of Culture is working to protect and preserve the Kamba Ramayana. Now, you don't need to know a lot of details about it. You need to know three things. The Kamba Ramayana is considered to be the Tamil rendition of the Sanskrit Valmiki Ramayana, first thing. Second thing is that it has been produced by a very well known Tamil poet, Kambar, and this is not his first work. Not his first work. He has done other works also. And it is under a Chola ruler, Kolotunga III, that he wrote it. So his writings are generally considered important. You should just be able to replace the ruler, Kolotunga III, the state, and the poet. That's it. Don't go into too much detail. All of this is for your understanding, but don't have to go into all of this so that you get caught up in the whole concept itself. Just remember these three facts and you are sorted. Right? Then, when the Prime Minister went to France, the Bastille Day celebration, he took with him certain artwork. The first one is called Dokra artwork, and Macron was given as, you can say, Dokra artwork. Uh, uh, these musicians and his wife was given, Brigitte Macron was given a mirror. Now the question is, where does Dokra casting come from? Again, has been asked in the examination previously. It is across Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, Telangana. However, the one he took was from the Jharkhand sector in that sense. And Dokra casting is based on lost wax technique, a technique which we see previously in IVC also, and represents tribal culture of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Odisha, along with certain parts of Kerala also. So Dokra casting, you should know what is it based on. Lost wax technique, where you make a wax model, make a, you can say, clay model around it, then heat it, wax is taken out, then you add the metal. That is why it's called lost wax technique. You lose out the wax, something which we discuss as part of Harappan civilization, and therefore, very important. It does not have any joints. That is the most interesting thing about Dokra casting. Then one important tribal folk dance which was in the news was called the Jhumoir assemblage in Assam. The Prime Minister, on the 200th anniversary of Assam tea industry, inaugurated 8,000 artisans, rather artists, rather 8,000 artists who performed together the largest assemblage of Jhumar dance. Now, what is Jhumar dance? Jhumar, as it is called, it originates in the Adivasi tea belt of Assam. So it represents tea culture, tea plantation culture in that regard, done on festivals and weddings. It is known for its rhythm and footwork. But why is it important? Because in this event, firstly, largest assemblage, 8,000 artists together performing it. But on this day, the Prime Minister also engaged himself in playing what is called as the dhomsa. This is very important because this can come in the examination as a term. It is a traditional drum which comes from the tea garden community, and very, very, very important, the larger scheme of things. It is at the end of the day a very important part of the tea plantation culture, and it should be recognized in that regard also. So, Jhumor and Dhomsa, two words which you should know. Very important to understand Assamese tea plantation culture. Thereafter, we had a renaming which happened, a renaming which should have happened much earlier than it has been done. Fort William in Calcutta now is called as Vijayadurg, and it should be also. The Indian Eastern Headquarters, which was called Fort William in Kolkata, has been renamed as Vijayadurg after Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's Sindhudurg Fort and Vijayadurg Fort. And within it, there is something called the Kitchener House, which is now going to be called as Manekshaw House. And the St. George Gate is going to be called as Shivaji Gate. So, therefore, very well representation of our culture and understanding. All three were represented, you can say represented colonial history. Fort William, Kitchener, St. George have nothing to do with our culture in that regard. So now we have Vijayadurg, Manekshaw House, and Shivaji Gate. Now we all know what Fort William represents. Fort William is the same place which basically is the birthplace of British colonialism because of the what we call as black hole incident. It is the same place where the siege of Calcutta happened. It is a pretext to the whole concept of Battle of Plassey, and the black hole incident is considered to be the turning point where Clive is going to use it as a way of pretext of defeating Sirajuddaula. So this is one of the most important moments and places where Fort William is considered. Fort William College was also there. Wellesley later closed in 1806. But this is good. This needs to be also learnt because very important topic. Renaming is always important. You can get a statement based question. You can get a question on Vijayadurg. Where is it? Not an island. Vijayadurg is also Fort William in that regard. Now, if I'm talking about the Republic Day, you can guess. Now I've reached till January of 2025, and what is always you can say interesting is we have the tableaus. Within that, you should always remember what is the culture which is represented in certain you can say tableaus, and that is where this year we had two very significant developments. First, the at-home function of the president. She sent a very interesting bag which had already a lot of representation of Indian culture. So the pouch in which the whole, you can say, invitation was sent was made with Pochampalli Ikat, important. Then there was also something called bamboo kalamkari, which was done. Then it also had a small toy, which is called the Etikopaka toys. And there was the pouch was made out of Kanchipuram silk. So together, this whole hamper which he sent was a very interesting representation of South Indian, you can say, textile and handicrafts. In the same way, the Andhra Pradesh tableau was about the eco-friendly wooden toys which come from the Etopokai, this one, the Etipopaka toys. These toys were represented by Andhra Pradesh, very important. You should know this, which state. Then we had Bihar tableau showcasing Nalanda and British and Buddhist language and heritage. Again, important. Nalanda has been in the news quite a lot, so you should remember about Nalanda. Then in Tripura tableau, we had what is called as the Karchi Puja. The Karchi Puja, the tribute to the 14 deities, very beautifully represented. You should know that also. Then Karnataka represented what is called as the artistic temples of Lakhundi. Now this is very very important. What is Lakhundi? This is not in the news. This is not in traditional sources. Lakhundi is a specific type of temple architecture, stepwell architecture, and inscriptions in that regard. 10th and 12th century linked to the Chalukyas. Remember this point. Chalukyan architecture. They can use this word of Lakhundi in the examination, and this is going to become difficult to answer. 50 temples along with 101 stepwells and 29 inscriptions are dedicated to Lord Shiva, all made in this type of architecture, which is called the Lakhundi architecture, coming from the Chalukyan period of the Karnataka sector. Very important. Chalukyas, it is related to later periods, Kalyani Chalukyas, but Chalukyan culture, generally Vesara style, has this Lakhundi structure and influence in that regard. Going on further, we have Goa, which actually represented what is called as the Kavi art. Now, Kavi art actually is a specific type of Konkan region art, which is represented in murals, and old houses, small shrines have this representation. So, the concept of Kavi art was represented in the Kavi Lakhundi, two words which you should know. Karchi Puja, you already know. Etikopaka toys from Andhra Pradesh. Then, then you just have to know the state and this. All good. Come on, last three topics. Everything is fine. This is to be noted. We can expect a question. We did not get a question in 2025. We can get a question in 2026, but by the time 2026 comes through, we'll have another Republic Day. So don't worry about that. So you just need to know that these were in the news. You should remember them specifically. Then the 100th anniversary of the what is called as the Belgaum or the now the Belagavi session 1924. The only session which president was MK Gandhi. Gandhi was the president of this session. He just came out of jail. Swarajist no changers. And one of the most iconic ones, because it is at the Belgaum session where the Swarajist agenda was adopted by the INC, and they said, okay, we will now contest elections. Non-cooperation movement based understanding is going to be given away. So the Belgaum session, Karnataka government actually uh, recently had a very nice exhibition, colored, all AI created and colored images of this session itself. Very beautiful in that regard. So therefore, an important, you can say, session. Gandhi also reduced the membership fee by 90%. He had asked everybody to produce 2,000 yards of khadi cloth, and also he had accepted the concept of what is called as Swarajist no changes. Remember, Belgaum session, generally important, only session headed by Gandhi. No other session of the Congress was headed by Gandhi. Right? Okay. Now, this brings us to a very interesting topic. And in that regard, the last topic also, which is Shivagalai. So, if you remember, I told you that Kiledi breaks the notion that the second urbanization is in the Mahajanpada period. And we always talk about Paleo, Meso, Neo, IVC, and then we divide megalithic and thereafter further right? Now, what Shivagalai does is it has yielded. Kiladi comes here, 800 BC, but Shivagalai, a site which has been linked to the larger Vaigai Valley civilization, it has yielded iron technology, iron age in 3345 BC, which would then argue that IVC was second fiddle and there was a much bigger civilization in South India which basically had already mastered iron. So, in the archaeological sites of Shivagalai, Adi Charlur, and these two other, specifically Shivagalai, a certain iron piece has been found, which through the Tamil Nadu government archaeological survey has now argued that the based on accelerometer spectri, AMS is very well known, 3345 BC. This fully distorts and destroys the notion that IVC was bronze, copper. Then we have this movement towards iron. This would then push the Iron Age of India before Indus Valley civilization, arguing that the peninsular sector had a much bigger civilization, more mature civilization, and that in turn would argue that the cultural zones south of Vindhya had already reached iron, whilst copper was being followed in North India. Very important conclusion. And Shivagalai, in that regard, is considered to be one of the most important sites. Shivagalai, taken together with Kiladi, totally changes. This is much before Hittite. Yes, it is much before Hittite. Hittite is considered to be 2000 BC. This is 3345, earliest in that regard. Earliest. So, the simple, straightforward point that this is complicating our understanding of the timeline, and there is now a need to change in that regard how we look at this concept of 1300 BC Hittite and the Turkish Empire. We don't need to look at that. So therefore it is time that we give the right space to the peninsular sector and South Indian history within the larger timeline. So with this, we finish our discussion for today. For the past now close to 4 hours, what I have covered is from December of 2024 till August of 2025. I have given you a mini marathon, and the next time when we meet, maybe after 5 to 6 months, I'll again cover from September to February or January. I hope that these 3 hours have been fruitful, constructive, and you've been able to understand, revise, or learn what you wanted to learn in that. Right? I will be back. Thank you so much and take care.